cool. But I'm gonna record this so YouTube will get a fresh, good cut, and
I'm
that will
pissed.
actually
I
be.
spent I spent 2 days in create. Look, I suck at Minecraft. I like Minecraft, but I spent 2 days in creative mode making like the amazing base with a bunch of like extra redstone and iron. Like everything you need. Just everything. Houses were made out of diamond blocks. Like I was rich. And I
Jeez,
had tons of whatever I
I'm
needed in
rich,
case.
bitch.
Like I had it all. It was like it was. Look, I want to explore other
It's a Dave
areas.
Chappelle show at
But
this point.
I made just the beginning, little house in creative because, I want to play with my daughter and she's 7 and we can't do it all. I guess we probably could slow and steady, but I just
Hmm.
want to, you kind of learn a little bit more when you do a little bit more creative. But I want to play survival because it's more fun in survival. So we made everything creative and I switched over in survival. I spent 2 days when my kids were on vacation and I'm like all like pumped to play it with her tonight and we set it all up and it's on PlayStation, so it's Bedrock Edition and it's like 187 megabytes. So I start it. It's a little bit choppy and slow, but
Hmm.
I'm like ready to play, and my daughter starts to play, and it just errors out 3 times in a row. Nothing else is
Really?
loaded. Yeah, it errored out all 3 times. I don't know. I guess it just can't handle it. It was weird because she
I think you
spawned
got to
into
the
like
end of the game.
Enderman. She spawned into Enderman like, and then it just glitched out and it didn't glitch, but I mean it just blue screened on me.
I
So I'm
haven't
kind of
played
bummed
it.
out. I spent 2 days and now we can't even do it.
I haven't played. I played another game that's similar. But um, my kid played the Minecraft, so when she gets a little older, she'll probably tell me a little bit about it. But she hasn't really played like that much. It was mostly just a school thing. Her um, my other side doesn't really want her playing games that much, which is kind of total opposite of
My
me.
my friends are like that too. They don't really like their kids playing. They didn't like the idea that you die and come back to life. And I mean, to each their own. I'm not. I don't.
I
I
don't know.
just.
It's that one lesson like you do a bunch of stupid stuff and then well, you might not survive. But yeah, it just I don't know. It's a sign. The one like there's signs of the times that happen. We kind of go with it, and there's some stuff we're like, no, 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 that's too far. We don't want to go with that, right? But with games, what can you do? This is the thing about us in the past growing up. When we were younger, women didn't like men playing games typically because, well, it averts attention from them, one, and number two, it averts attention from them. Uh, but some women would argue like violent games make violent criminals and
We
stuff.
we didn't
But
do
the
as
fact
much
is like,
chores then either.
but the fact is, violent games almost never made violent criminals. It was people that did have guns and weapons and stuff that ended up
I
becoming
I don't
violent
see any
criminals.
correlation and we have games out for long enough now since like Grand Theft Auto 2
Yeah,
and stuff like that. There's no real correlation that there might be some correlation that psychopaths like to also play violent games, but there's no
but
correlation
they
that
were
violent
just
games
yeah,
create psychopaths.
but they were just violent to begin with. They were gonna do it
Yeah.
anyway. So even if you introduced them to a
In,
game,
in fact, in
the
fact, I
thing
feel
is
like I
the
feel
thing
like it's
is
actually
that would be the
mediate
opposite
them.
actually. That would be the opposite actually. They would rather do the violent thing in real life than play the game, which is why they did that. What they did is because they
This
chose
reminds
their
me of
they chose their
Morty
path.
when Morty's kid had Gazorbazorb or whatever.
Um, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, for, okay, so trying to get to the topic we're going to talk about tonight, we're trying to come up with something interesting. Is would Jesus be a
Corporate
capitalist?
corporatism.
Would Jesus be a
Yes.
capitalist? We are also talking about corporation stuff and all that, and I just see it as like what I think you're right, man. It's the corporations that are destroying the little businesses that are working with the capitalist thing, but these corporations are so big they can just step on the little guy,
Yeah.
squash him out of his business, squash him out of his pride, a thing he wants to do, and then force him to work for another corporation. It's
Well,
basically like one giant amoeba
why not?
absorbing another tiny little amoeba to make itself bigger, and
Okay,
that's essentially what that is.
why
That's
not
what.
create an actual term where it's not it wouldn't be socialism, but it's an idea of like capitalism that has a little bit more of a check and balance to it. That like,
A
it's not
corporate
that they
check
just
and
have to pay.
balance.
It's not that they necessarily have to pay taxes, but like, I don't like the idea that Disney owns Marvel. I don't see how that's.
Yeah, I think that's a
I
horrible,
mean,
horrible
and then
thing.
beyond that, they also own Star Wars. So it's like, it's weird to
Hmm.
me. It's weird. I mean, I already don't like. I mean, that's Disney never even made their own stories to begin with. They just took other stories and then revamped them. I'm not saying that it's not creative, and I'm not saying it's not, okay stories, but the whole concept of who they even were is just like it's not like they produced anything. They just redid other people's stuff over and over again, and now they're buying more already made stuff. Like they never changed their really like business motto of
Hmm.
like they just buy other people's good works and try to work off of that. And all they do is kind of destroy everything. I feel like
Yeah.
they made, the old-fashioned stories were designed to scare the hell out of children so they would behave better. And then what does Disney do but buy it and make it like everything will be okay? And your kid's like, "Oh, I want to be a princess." And with no fucking consequences, no regrets.
No
Like
regrets. Yeah.
no, but I'm just saying, like, I hate everything that Disney stands for.
Yeah.
I don't agree with their policy on life. Just do whatever
No.
you want, be
It's
free and happiness.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but to me, it's like restrain yourself, hard work, try to do the right thing. Yeah, some people are weaker than others. Yeah, we all make mistakes, but that's, don't beat yourself up for it, move on, but you gotta try to do the right thing and not just be like, what is the right thing? Let's do whatever we want. Who cares?
Hmm.
You
Yeah. Altison's
like I said,
saying, I would agree he was a capitalist. Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm in general. It's like I
But
said. I
like
think he's a
you're
capitalist.
to go back to what you're saying when you're saying Disney and all that, it just brings me back to the gosh, what was his name? He was the big Satanist guy, and he was big purporter of "do what thou wilt," which was the
Son of
whole
Sam.
uh, Anton LaVey.
I don't know his
But "do
name.
what
I'm
thou
not
wilt" it
intelligent.
creates a society where people are like, do whatever you want, and it just kind of gives this whole anarchy notion to the fact is what we shouldn't go to, because if we look at some games they go full anarchy, and when you go full anarchy and you have no justice system, you have complete chaos. You can do whatever you want to your neighbor.
Well, I don't
People
know.
don't,
We just have
you
this
know
this
but I would
notion that
say
like
if we're going into the idea of the capitalist thing, Jesus said there's always going to be the poor, right? There will always be the poor, and what was the other thing that you just mentioned earlier?
I don't know. You mentioned something earlier too. I don't remember.
There's always going to be the poor, and give to God what's God's, give to
Yeah, you give to
Caesar
Caesar
what's
what Caesar.
Caesar's. So you got kind of an idea, a guy that's, and this is what I've had to say also, is that in two different societies, you're going to have one of the two. You're either going to have slavery or you're going to have the poor. But you're always going to have the underclass kind of supporting the higher class. And that's how it happens, even in the tier system, when we talk about the poor, the middle class, and the high class system. Now, we might consider the poor, or the poor might consider themselves slaves, but they don't have it as bad as an actual slavery system would be, where you have no rights and you're just a horrible abomination on the world and a blight, and just have to do everybody else's work, And I think in this,
Which is what the next higher up always wants to. That's the
mhm,
problem too. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's just the way you said it. That's how like some people genuinely think. Like they look at if they're the boss of you, they look at you like, ugh, like what a lesser person than me.
you are
And
the
it's just like,
underling,
dude,
and
like,
as much as that,
you missed the point of it. Like
yeah,
you should feel honored that you have people who
mhm,
need you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that's an honor
mhm,
that God's given you the ability to handle more people. Not everybody got that gift. These people that you're taking care of, you know, for you to look down on them is completely missing the whole point. I mean, you're supposed to look at what are they skilled in? What can they do well? How can I utilize these
I
people the
think
best?
I think the fact is a lot of the people in the higher classes don't realize that a lot of people in the lower classes just don't want that much more. I think
Yeah.
that life's ambitions turn into kind of where you get to in life in a lot of ways. There's a lot of poor people that are homeless that wander around, even that I've seen or talked to in Wisconsin here. Believe it or not, there's homeless people wander around in Wisconsin. They just want to wander around. They don't want to be tied to anything. It's nothing more than that. It's some very simplistic stuff. I'm not saying that they couldn't do better, but some people just want to travel.
Well,
Some people just
but that
want to feel free to do not much of anything. They don't want to be tied down
but
to
that's what I
something.
mean. I
And
don't
so
I
some
don't
people in a higher class might be looking down on these people, but it's like maybe they just want their basic freedom and they want to live their life how they want to live it,
I
you know.
don't I
Um,
don't believe like people are
but
programmed at birth with their personalities. I just don't. I believe that we are pretty much an open sponge and
yeah.
we learn from who our parents are and who our friends are. And the only reason that we are a little bit more organized now is because we have like things like social media where you kind of realize like, wow, the average person's like cynical. Like a
Hmm.
lot, I mean, that's the thing. When social media first kind of came out, the average person was kind of shy. It didn't
Hmm.
take, that much longer before people realized like, well, that person's an asshole. Like all they were doing was just basically
Hmm.
saying what they thought. And
Yeah.
people laughed at it, and that laughter became more public. You wanted to see more of this assholeness, and before you realized it, like
Hmm.
asshole became the humor. Even I saw this one thing where a person said something along the lines of like, "I'm realizing now that like comedy is just like the one person being like completely stupid to understanding, what the other person's saying."
Hmm.
He's like, I don't really like it, and it's true, I mean, you can be like, I need help, and the person's like, duh, help, like, it's stupid, but people like laugh at that. People are like, the person needs help, the other person doesn't even understand,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's so
Yeah.
funny,
And
and it's like, it's
it's
not
different
really funny.
yeah, it's different in like what Altison's saying here is higher class people are tied to responsibility, especially if they're from European backgrounds. Nobles, nobles oblige. Interesting enough, their only European upper class really cared for their lower class. Serf only had to work for 3 months to a year, and it's different with that. Like if you're going back to the whole feudalism thing, I still don't want to go back. I do not want to go back to feudalism because then even a serf is considered a slave. Like you really can't get out of your profession. You're kind of this or that. If you wanted to become a knight or a soldier, you literally, now I know it's not the same thing now, but you would sell all of your land, whatever you had, buy there's probably more to this than that, but you'd buy a sword, buy a horse, and go work for a lord, and then you would just be with them and you kind of picked your position and all that. So like there were different casts of systems out there. Um, I think as far as capitalism goes, I think Jesus probably would be on for it, but I think what we have here is what you were talking about is corporatism. And what we were just saying, corporatism literally just steps on the little guy. So you want to make a little business, right? But let's say you want to make a business selling burgers, right? Your Bob's Burgers from the TV series and all that. You're trying to do your best that you can. But McDonald's is right next door. McDonald's cuts their costs by about $1.50, and then your burgers are still $1.50 more, even though your burger tastes almost the same as that, or maybe a little bit better. Everybody else is like, well, I want to save an extra buck. And the only reason they did that probably is to snuff out your business that's next to them. Like even in Wisconsin, there was a company called um, California Cows, which I told you, but I didn't really tell everybody else out there. But they bought Golden Guernsey to put them out of business. They initially bought the Golden Guernsey because they said they were going to work with them and all that, and then they fired everybody else. They put them all out of business. I don't know if they restarted or what happened with that. I don't see Golden Guernsey and all that anymore here. But California Cows literally snuffed out a business of how many hundreds of workers? Now, I'm not saying that that wasn't also a corporation too, but I mean, you just see how we're dealing with high scale
We're,
entities.
I worked at a paint
destroying
company.
little people that are trying to build themselves up in a capitalist society when it's turned into crony corporatism that's destroying everything. And then they're leaving all the carbon footprint on all over the world. Look at how many thousands of miles of gallons of gas are using on their planes to ship all of these products over to this place and that place, and not using local people. Like they have to use their own corporate funded
I worked for a paint
plastics,
company
paper,
for a little bit,
material, you know.
and I would watch like the gallon of paint for a level 4 customer was, I don't quote me, but I want to say it was like somewhere like $15 for a gallon of paint. And for a level 1 customer, which is like the general walk-in customer, it's like $55. It's like 15 to 55. And I realized it's like it probably costs them like very close to $15 to make the paint. They're probably not making almost any money on these people who massively buy. And the reason is their massive buys keep a rotation of money generating for the next supply. You know what I mean? Like you can do everything, even though you're not making money, you're getting it and buying it and you're able to make it to reproduce because it matches the matches of sales. So you're not the real sales only come from everybody else who's getting ripped off. And I'm not saying that they're getting ripped off, but the whole reason is if the level 4 companies, these big corporations who buy tons of paint, if they were having to pay the same amount as everybody else, you could have everybody probably pay like $30,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody would have to pay. But no, because they buy more, it makes the other people have to pay more, and they barely even, I'm telling you, they barely even pay for the cost of the paint. But that's what I mean. They pay for just enough to, they're not
Mm-hmm.
making any money off of those people.
Mm-hmm.
They're just making the business off of those people.
And that's another
The
thing
money.
too is they're making a business because like
But that puts everybody, yeah, like a mom and pop guy who comes in like, I'm trying to make it as a business. Oh, you're a business. Let me give you the business price. Oh, nope, no, I give you a level 2. I'll give you a little bit of a discount. You can pay $45.
mm-hmm.
Not 55 like the average person, so you're getting $10 from us, but
Mm-hmm.
we expect you to buy at least 20 gallons of paint a week, to get
Mm-hmm.
that price. If you're not doing that, yeah, you can just pay the regular price then. So I mean, that's what I mean. Like it's like I get it. I get how business works in that sense, but it's so like wrong to mom and pop shops. People who are just trying to start out, they get cheated out. They have no chance compared to the big corporations. There's no way the only way the big corporations end up being close to the same price is because they pay themselves like 20 times more than
Mm-hmm.
mom and pop could ever pay themselves. They just, oh, my CEO bonus will be
Yeah.
$500
Yeah.
million dollars.
Yeah.
It's
Makes
no different
sense.
than what.
Like Eltison's
eh,
saying here, if a car dealership sold their cars, would be out of business, so they have to lease them in order to continually own the car, so they never
Right.
actually lose
Car dealership's
lose the
another great
value.
example. Exactly. Yeah, the whole area in there is the same deal. And we all, people want to come in and like want it cheaper and stuff. Doesn't work like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
all just a rip off. I
And
don't know.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's the hard thing. You know what? It's so hard to live in a capitalist society that has been that corporatism has become this giant weed that has just devoured any
Yeah.
other potential for other people to make
Well,
money
that's what
on
I
their
mean.
own. So
Imagine imagine
you want to
coming up
make
with
your
a
way in
social
life?
media program.
Good fucking luck because you're up against a lot of stuff.
You
You're
make
up
you make
against
a
a
good
lot of high
program,
end
and the
things
first
that
thing
could
they'll
just
do is try to
squash
buy your
you. And
program.
yeah, and
If
then
you don't choose to sell your program, you're like, no, I'm going to become my own entity and compete against you guys. Just wait for it. Just wait for every possible thing they can do to put you down.
they'll lower the price in your area
Well, they'll
to
go
make
to
you be
they'll go to the
higher.
they'll go to the
They'll
people and be like, hey, you want your ads on my program? Don't put your ads on them. Now all of a sudden, oh no, we can't even find people to pay for the ads. You can't get anybody. Oh wait, we found somebody. This company's willing to buy our ads. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you want ads on ours? Come on us. You know, they'll just steal you. They'll poach. They'll do
Mm-hmm.
anything they can to put you out of business, and it's sickening. And that's not what capitalism is supposed to be about. Maybe it is though. I mean, the word is
I think
capital.
there's
But the whole thing is
obviously
like you said, liberty
there's obviously.
and justice.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
that's what I'm saying. Liberty and justice.
capital
There's no
can
justice.
can
There's
capitalism survive in justice
but
with
that's the
justice?
thing. The corporations have this thing that they can just squash anything that's not them. So is that fair? Is that a fair market? I wouldn't say that's completely fair.
It's not
You
just
know.
that, but they're abusing content of saying things are misinformation and all that.
Yeah, and it'll go around saying that all the
That
time. Yeah,
in the
exactly.
end, now in the end, they're trying to say that like, oh, you know, you non-vaccinated people have the same rights as the vaccinated. Like we
Like
never
we
didn't.
like we didn't fucking know about that already. You know.
Yeah, like
It's just like, are you kidding me? Like most people that went against it and were looking into it were like, wow, this could have some serious side effects. Now people are
people always have
talking
the
about
same
serious
rights.
side effects and they're like, how did they know? Well, I wonder if other doctors did their own studies on it and were like, yeah, no, you know. Um, but like we were talking about stuff like this, like if you're gonna do something for a capitalist thing, you have to have your own niche thing. You have to have your own gimmick, and that's great to do. But not all the time can you always get a gimmick with a thing. You know, you might be a taco shop, right? You make some fish
But it,
tacos, but then you want to make a pizza too, to make it interesting. So you got it. So the problem
yeah,
is,
but
the
that
problem
also
with
kind of
that,
annoyed me
the
too because
problem
then you
with that
started
is
making
because that,
grocery stores
yeah,
selling alcohol and
because now you're not because
lawn
now that
chairs.
you want to do all these other things, you're forced to do these other things when you just started the simple company with this much amount of supply for this much amount of thing, and now you have to expand it onto something else. Like even when I talk to Amo, who when I'm playing some games, he runs an Italian restaurant. I think in two different states and all that. And he doesn't like. I make a joke sometimes like, "Oh, you should put some lime in the spaghetti stuff or in the Italian food." He's like, "I don't put lime in my Italian foods." Like he's very strict about it. He doesn't want to waver away from his traditions as far as making an Italian restaurant. Now, why would you? But when you're forced to compete with other people sometimes you have to like look at some alternate avenues that might be a little gimmicky to be like, or not even just gimmicky, but just like a little nuance in the fact that could help with your business creation, your business model.
Distinguishing.
And then what? Then you have to make an extra expense into that. And so not only do the corporations have this foothold on you, it's almost like now you have to like be even more competitive and more outgoing than they were because it's already kind of established there and
Yeah,
you
but then what happens is if you have some good idea, all of a sudden you just start seeing all the mainstream copying it.
and then they
Look,
copy it and then they advertise and it's
Chick-fil-A
like
has a
you
good chicken
fucking took
sandwich.
my idea. Yeah, they're
Congratulations. Wow, what a
yeah.
great idea putting pickles and a little bit of mayonnaise on a chicken sandwich. Like, oh, it's great. Why don't every single fast food place now has the same exact thing? I mean, KFC has it,
Hmm.
McDonald's has it. I think even Arby's has it. Or
Yeah,
Burger King, I think like, they all have their own version of the basically Chick-fil-A sandwich.
yeah.
I mean, it's weird. That's what I mean. Like, and even that, like, oh, we have chicken sandwich, fish sandwiches, burgers,
Hmm.
burger. I don't know. Just to me, it's all too much. Like, focus on what you were good at, and just keep doing that. You don't have to keep expanding yourself
Hmm.
to compete against. It's not even competing. You're just trying to make more money. You're just trying to tap into that market. There's sales. People buy it. People need it. You can make money off of it if you sell it.
Yeah, just
It's
like what
so
you're saying
annoying.
with the timeline here too. What if they just cater up until one in the morning? There's so many businesses that shut down now at
Why do
such
you
an
think
early.
Idiocracy made fun of Costco being like 500 miles long before they ever became idiots? They clearly made a Costco that everybody went to for everything. It's like, it's got to be so
and,
annoying.
and that's
It's like
that's our
imagine
future.
imagine
That's
if
that's the
Costco
movie's saying.
what
That's our
what
future.
what
We're gonna
it'll
go
be
to one
Costco.
store. for
an Amazon
everything.
store right next to it. An
And
Amazon.
that's what I do now. That's as soon as I started realizing most of this stuff, I stopped buying from Amazon unless I absolutely can only find it on Amazon. I stopped
Once
buying from
Amazon has
Amazon.
enough
I go
employees,
onto individual sites to buy the thing that I want to buy for it because I'm not going to support some big conglomerate corporation that's going to literally be like an amoeba
sooner
and
or
just
later,
suck everything
they'll
into
let
it. I'm going to
they'll
the
let people
individual
into their
person
store.
and
And
buy it from their particular website if I can't get it locally because why not? People might
yeah,
say, "Oh, the brick and mortar shops are dead." But that doesn't mean that the capitalism thing is still dead. You can still run your capitalistic job through a website, your own website. You just make a nice website, make it local, make it support the thing you want, and there you go. That's your brick and mortar thing now. It's on your website. But if you keep going to Amazon, you're just supporting another giant conglomerate corporation. You're just
sooner or
it's
later, Amazon will probably just create their warehouses to be all boxes on like conveyors or like possible movement, and basically whatever you want, you'll type in and it'll like actually like move the box to you, and it'll just bring the box to you, and then you can take.
it's almost like we're all going to be delivery people in the future here.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean.
Some even
All
people
there's gonna
told
be
me about that. They're like, man, I make like $30 like a trip every time I take this thing to this guy's place and that thing to the other guy's
Yeah,
place.
but I just don't understand it though. Like, why does everybody want all this stuff? I mean, literally, I watch people all day buy nonsense. I mean, I hate to say it, especially if the
Oh, I
people are
know.
watching the
I was
show,
in the
but
same.
it's like,
I worked at
it's
the, kind
like
of the same place you worked at one point.
I,
It's just
but it's insane. Like you don't need that. I mean, I even hear sad stories where people say like after I got home and spent all the
it's
money, I realized I cried. And I'm like, yeah, I would too because I don't know. I guess I just have willpower
yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying that. It's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid. And it's made in China. Nothing against China,
Yeah.
but I'm not paying some American guy who had some idea and all he did was pay some engineer X amount of dollars to come up with the design that he could send over to China and pay X amount of dollars for them to produce 100,000 of them for a cheap amount of money, and
And
then
this
all he has
is
to do is just find some buyer to sell them at 5 times as much, and he just made an
yeah.
incredible amount of
Yeah.
money, really doing jack shit
Yeah.
and
This
acting like, oh no, I did all the connections and I could have fallen apart on the purchases and all that. Like, get out of here. Nowadays, people buy crap everywhere. These huge corporations will gladly take a loss because if they can find the one golden ticket, like all of a sudden, people like poppers mass produce these things like freaking everywhere. And then fidget spinners. Oh,
yeah.
them out your ass everywhere. Every kind of fidget
Mm-hmm.
spinner could be possible.
Yeah. You know,
And, let's make
you,
every
you
single
know,
design.
you know how to really hit the government
Doesn't
hard.
doesn't matter. They're so crappy.
You know how to
Hey,
hit the
who cares?
You know how to hit the government really hard to kind of like make them like wake up and shock them. Everybody sell all your stocks. Don't ever buy a stock again. Get rid of all the stocks. This is what they do with all their media tickers. Fox, CNN, all that. They show the stocks all the time because they have inside information as to how it's going to play out. And they play you
Great.
like they
Such a great strategy, except for
like they
half the people that wouldn't do it, and then
well,
those
I'm
people
gonna
just be
get
so
rid of all
rich.
that because there's well they'll get rich a little bit, but then they'll end up losing it because they'll only be in their tiny little bubble with themselves. Because we've already seen this. This is what happens because
They'll just short the shares,
because
keep themselves back in.
this is why we have all these slime balls in office. They're doing all these shady behind the scenes deals. They're working with the stocks. The stocks is one of those things. And they're just profiting off of you, thinking that you're gambling on a lottery ticket going to make $1 million because you keep going buying that lottery ticket all the time with the stocks going, oh, today's my day.
It's
And
more like crypto.
you keep losing all your fucking money.
That's like what's his name? Kevin O'Leary, who like 3 weeks I have a YouTube video 3 weeks ago. It's like crypto is gonna fall apart. And then like I get another one that's like 5 days ago and it's like crypto is like taking over. I'm like, make up your mind then, man. I mean, maybe I should have watched the whole video and I wouldn't sound as ignorant, but
I'm
I
not
just look at it, it's
exactly
like,
sure where crypto is going to go, but if it ends up being another, I mean, it's kind of like the stocks right now because it fluctuates. But if it ends up just being another government regulated stock, I'm just getting rid of that too.
crypto's only
I'm not even
backed.
going to do that because that's a fact. Sure, you might make some money. You might be with a good financial thing, but guess who you're making it off the backs of? All the
I'm pretty sure
people
the
that you're making poor.
crypto's still only backed by the American dollar. So
But it's
in
off
the
of
end,
all the people that didn't have the right kind of investments that you had that you're making poor. You're just making more people poor by a slight success.
yeah.
And that's what they do. That's the thing. Governments aren't meant to make money. That's what they use to back them up to make a little more money as the stocks. And if you crush
Well, they
that,
really they
then
should have
you're
been
crushing.
saving money.
Well, yeah, they should have been saving money, but who fucking does that, right?
Because
That would
if
be
you
the
can save
smart
it,
thing to do.
imagine if you as the government had your dollar at a such controlled rate where everybody's like living adequately, but you also have a massive amount in reserve of your own currency. That you know what I mean? Like you could
That's what
easily,
you should
it's
do.
already counted in circulation. You could easily push this out to everybody and give everybody massive amount of money at any point in time, and it wouldn't matter.
And this is the
You
thing.
would
This
never
is
even
the thing.
inflate your
Like
own dollar.
what you're saying is great because this is, I think, what a lot of capitalistic people would do. When they have their own business, they're going to save up a certain amount of money
I mean, exactly.
just in case their
Well, that's why they're
refrigerator
not in
breaks,
politics.
just in case their oven breaks, just in case this other thing breaks, or just in case they need a little backup bubble for something. They
All the
usually do
people in
that. Look at
politics are
corporations. Do they
not
do that?
successful business people.
I
Why?
don't see
Look what they always
corporations
do.
doing. If they
They always
fall
want to
apart, they just
shoot for the
everybody's
stars.
fired.
Go for a
Everybody's
crazy
fired.
idea. They want to. I mean, these ideas that they always have, like double down on. That's why they don't own successful businesses and they're involved in politics because they didn't get super successful and
And they
come
didn't
up with the
understand. They didn't understand when you become a civil servant, you're supposed to be a civil servant.
yeah.
You're not
You're
supposed to be
supposed to be
stepping on people being like, "Look at me.
you're
I'm Mr.
supposed to be poor and basically finding out when other people are getting really rich
You're supposed to be
why
helping the
and
other person
and
because you are the person to be the servant for
but here's what I'm
everybody
saying.
else."
Nobody would be super duper uber rich if it was all honest business practices in the first place.
Yeah,
None of
everybody.
it. Even even down to the
You would
idea
make your fair value, fair.
even down to the idea that you could have made simple laws along the ideas like, well, if you're making this amount as an overall corporation, you need this amount of employees. And it's like, yeah, that starts getting into like, socialism status, but then at least that
Are
stops you.
corporations really just socialism? Isn't it just socialism in a work form without the
Yeah.
government
Well,
involved?
that's
Is that
what I always
essentially
say
what that
about
is?
how it's funny how our
But then,
schools
well,
teach children like a dictator. The principal is the hierarchy of all, and you must listen to the principal and the teachers are like you have to listen to and no fighting, zero tolerances. There's no excuse for any of it, and there's
yeah, principals would get pretty pissed off at you if you actually disagreed with them, and I've done it
yeah,
multiple times.
it's
And they acted
because
kind of
it's a
like they were
dic-
some kind of god.
it's run like a dictatorship.
They were like some kind of god. I'm like, you don't.
School.
I'm
Why do
like,
you
this is
think?
supposed to
Why
be
do
a
you
Catholic
think
school, and you
kids?
don't even believe in some of the Catholic
But that's
principles.
what I'm
What is
saying.
wrong
Why do
with
you
you?
think kids
Like
always
when I was a
turned
kid,
out
that
to
was
be
what I
like
was thinking.
Democrats? They get run like dictators growing up. 1 through 18, well, 6 through 18, basically, they get treated like a dictatorship. You
Hmm.
go to school every day. You do that. It's this very mind. It's not like, hey, one day we're going out and we're doing like none of it's real. It's every day. Sit down, do this. Not even good for kids' postures and stuff to be sitting down. Like, what I mean? None of it. They don't teach kids history by taking them out to doing things or showing them like real videos and
And then
you know
hard wood chairs or hard plasticky chairs for
yeah, it's
eight
just all fake.
hours.
it's dictatorship. It's very like you do what we say. Man, person in front of room tells class what to do. It's all set up like a
You know what the
dictatorship.
fact is?
And
You know what
and
it is,
kids grow
dude?
up that
You know
way.
what it is? You know what it is? It's set up in a military style, like a childlike
It's set up
military
like a
style. So
military.
when you get older and you join the military, you're like, this isn't so different than I kind of remember when I was little, but I wasn't in the military when I was little. But it's gonna line up here, stand over there for a while. Um, if you don't move, you know, be silent. Uh, I don't know if schools do that now, but I know when I was in school, it was kind of like that in a sense.
You know,
Uh, they do.
but soon, put your phone away. You
Yeah,
can keep your phone, but put it away. If you don't put away, you're going to the principal. The
yeah,
principal just has to deal with it. The principal will be like, I'll call your parents.
yeah. I think.
That's why I said they still need to make the life alert system where it's just like, Timmy, put your phone away, or this will call the principal, and the principal will just speak to me right over the little intercom in this thing, and I'll just be like, Timmy won't put his phone away, and he'll be like, I already have Timmy's number, parents' number right here. His parents are working right now. They're not gonna like to have to leave work for this, Timmy. Make a decision. How's it gonna go down? Are there? Because if I'll tell you right now, Timmy, if you're not doing it, I'm gonna call child non-abuse because these parents are not abusing you enough to tell you what the fuck to do. You need to start listening. They need to abuse you a little harder, Timmy. If you don't start listening, I'm gonna figure out why these parents are not making you listen to me when you're in school. No, you need very simple instructions. I mean, that's what I'm saying. These, why are we, why are we giving?
And you know what I've heard
This
about in
goes
the
against the whole
past too
dictatorship idea, but
is like the bell was initially like a way to train kids to learn that when the bell went off at work, they'd also,
yeah.
be ready for lunch or whatever that was. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
that's
maybe it
there's
wasn't
something
intended
about
that
that,
way,
but
but it's like we all live by a certain code before.
the
We
fact
all
is
just live by the bell.
with capitalism, I think it comes back from a medieval idea of a journeyman. You're training with somebody else to be something, right? To do something, a blacksmith or whatever, but you're the journeyman. You're just the
Are you saying
trainee.
Jesus invented capitalism?
No, I'm not saying he invented it. I think it's just something natural for us to go through
But
anyways
was
because
capitalism around before Jesus? Were people
well,
really
people had their own
people
little
always have
trades. They had their own little trades. They were trading with other people, their goods, bazaars. People would carry all their stuff with them, and then they walk to a different
can't say
location
Satan.
and sell it. Um, you know, the whole thing of what's one of the modern ways? Not hawking, but um, not finagling. What's the
Well,
term? I forgot the term.
in a
But
sense,
people today,
yeah,
like
no.
even my uncle,
Look what Jesus did, though.
But here's the thing, like
He hated the taxes, unnecessary taxes, taxation without representation. It's no real different than the American beginning in the sense, like you're trying to take taxes for something that's not even related towards God and stuff like that, like, and you call yourself like a church, like this is disgusting. Like I'll flip your whole table, and it. That's exactly what like
because
you just try to
taxation
tax people
without
for nothing. That's
representation
exactly what a
was
capitalist would do.
but that's the thing. Taxation without representation was the fact is what is this tax representing?
Right.
Oh, it's just an increase in the crown
Well,
needs
you
more
have to sign it if
crowns.
you have to sign the bill
But
if you want to read what's in it. Nancy Pelosi.
but is that in a sense us going against what Jesus had to say, give to Caesar what Caesar, give to God what is God's? But does that if it doesn't,
But
does it conjoin the fact that giving to God what's God's means that we're giving to each
why
other
doesn't he also
what's
say
fair?
give to yourself what's yours, and how much should that be? He mentions how
Yeah.
much a tithe should be, although that's Old Testament, right? What the tithe 20% is.
Yeah. But
I think that's Old Testament.
also he did whip the animals in the temple that they were selling. They're basically selling salvation. What he was trying to say is you can't sell animals. You can't sell to make profit for salvation. That's what he was trying to get to with that. And then people would be like, "Oh, he whipped animals. He whipped people." It never really said he whipped people. It just said he whipped animals, just to get them out of the temple grounds and all that. But that was the whole point. They would slaughter the animals, the pure one, and then they would send out a black uh, ram or lamb or whatever into the wilderness because they thought they were going to put all the sins on this one, and that was the devil that was going to go out in the wilderness and die. So they would put other sins on that. Much like, modern day, you'd go to a church and to confess to a priest. Well, they would put their sins in a goat and send it away to die in the wilderness. That was kind of like the confession, I guess, at the time. It's strange, but that was the whole thing. Like you're
You do
saving
you
yourself by buying.
a hooved animal? Absurd. I use
I think
much
that
more pure dogs.
the black sheep was either a goat or a lamb or whatever. Um, but
Yeah,
uh,
I'll
but
use a
the whole
lamb.
point is like using and I don't know if that was like a temple run thing. It might have been a temple run thing. It might not have been an individual thing. So I'd have to look more into that to find out if that was like purely capitalistic or if that was like kind of religion government run at that point. Don't I don't really have the knowledge on that right now, but um, yeah.
If you can sell meat at a higher rate, you know, they would just sheep farmers can make more and sheep, they want, hey, no, 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 it's kind of like this. Before you realize it, if people follow the trend, it's like the history changes. I mean, that's what I mean. Like history is so, who cares about really what history teaches you?
Mhm.
Honestly, I I
I think
I
everything has a reason for it. So when people say that they rebelled in America for a lot less than what they're saying now,
history does
just over
not repeat
taxes.
itself.
I
It's a
don't think it
lie.
was. I don't think it was just something simplistic. I think they knew what the taxes were going to. I think they knew what they were funding for the crown, and they're like, no, we're not doing this anymore. We don't represent you. You don't represent us, and we're just not doing this. And they just decided to stop. And stopping paying also meant crime against the crown. You're treasonous, and well, then you get the war. You know, but I guess what it comes down to is when Jesus was saying, give to God what's God's, give to Caesar what's Caesar, what he was trying to say is keep it fair.
Yeah.
Keep it fair. But I think it comes down to a point in our history where things are not fair, and we realize that, and we go against it, and it could create war. And I think that's what happened with the Americas. But I don't think we know all the information. I
But
mean,
in a
we might be able
situation
to
like
find out
this,
more information by really looking into it, but I don't think
in a
everybody knows all the
in a
information because it's just
situation
told
like
like a
this
very,
though, war against whom?
generalized idea. And
Because here's the thing, I don't I don't have any problem with Democrats voicing their opinion. Like, you can be a Joe Biden supporter all you want. I might have a problem with, certain communities trying to push, like, even like, what is it, mops or whatever, or like child, what was it, or the
oh, map
minor,
minor attracted a
yeah,
piece of
maps,
shit.
yeah, minor attracted pedophile, I think it
Minor
was.
attracted piece of shit. Right.
It's
Wait,
like,
is there
and
another word for that? I thought it was
they made a flag
piece
about
of
it.
shit.
They made a flag
I
about
could
it,
be wrong, but
and
um,
it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And the idea that you're trying to make it more and more and more okay.
this is why I'm
I
saying
have
earlier. I think we're in
absolutely
the
problem
end of
with that. And
times because this
indoctrination
is
and all that kind of stuff. We all, in a sense, everything is indoctrination. Everything you learn is an indoctrination. You're trying to teach somebody what you, but I don't agree with the indoctrination of like freedom and do whatever you want, and let's get them young and let's get them to decide whatever they want. I don't believe in all that kind of stuff. I believe in indoctrination of like rules, follow them. You listen to your adult. And yeah, obviously if somebody's doing that kind of freedom, I can do whatever I want to that child. No, you can't. And that's the bottom line. That's what I believe in. No, you can't.
like the hormone growth
That's what
stuff,
I believe in.
the
And if
hormone
you think,
blockers and all that. That
yeah,
none of that stuff, none of that shit's even approved or even looked at into as far as like long-term studies. None of that is. This all just happened within the past 3 years.
look,
We weren't even
if a
talking
parent,
about this with like 3 years before. It wasn't even
if
mainstream news knowledge.
If a
People didn't talk
parent
about it.
is allowing that to their child, then you need to consider child abuse, majorly consider child abuse. If it's a child who's in a system that doesn't have a parent, but they have a guardian that's helping them, or some guardian that's even some big brother, big sister program kind of deal, and they're pushing them into that kind of situation, and they can sign off in some way that the doctor will agree to it because they know. Even I don't know if that's what's going on. Big Brother, I don't want to mess with Big Brother, Big Sister organization or something like that. But I'm just saying, like, if you're getting it, then they're not even a parent, it's even more sad for the child because they were saying some statistic that like so much like there's a much larger number of like children who don't have parents in the LGBT community that they fall in that now spectrum. And it was all overall the whole abortion thing. They're like, is that what you want? It's like, would you rather that community be dead? I mean, that's what you're saying. You're saying that you rather have them all aborted to begin with because now they're like, look, the fact is, you you've been misguided. You've been somehow manipulated to think these things that they're okay. I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. Look, we're all misguided with lots of things. But here's the thing. Some people
Yeah.
are less misguided at some things. Other people less. Look, even Grant Cardone was saying this one thing about how like take out loans and it's not considered income. That's what these big companies do. They just take loans or
Hmm.
they'll share off their building. They don't pay for it. They'll do it some other way, they'll and all this person's like lots of people are like mocking him. They're like, this guy's such an idiot and stuff like this. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I get it that some of the stuff I've seen it doesn't necessarily seem like it's right, but the reality is the guy is rich, like, and maybe either he's rich and he's lying to you purposely so he can somehow gain from it. I mean, I guess that would mean that he has to be a loan person, loan giver or something like that. But it's all nonsense to me. It's like everybody just wants to mock everybody and trash talk everybody, always thinking they know better than the next person. And it's getting obsessive anymore. That seems to be like I can't even watch YouTube Shorts anymore. I guess it's probably close to the same as TikTok, but it's amazing how something that was a trend for 2 or 3 years now to me is already like, oh, it's so cringe. Every single video I watch is just people being like
Complete asses.
annoying. Yeah, like it just like I said, Fatty Cluck never made more sense. It's just more and more Fatty Cluck seems to make more and
I'm
more
gonna
sense to me.
I'm gonna probably
It's
make a
like,
couple shorts, but I don't know if I'll ever really get into it where I do a whole bunch of them because
but
it's not like
but it
15.
seems like
You can't do much. You can't really give a big message for in 15 seconds. You can't really make.
Jeremy from the Quartering uses them as like commercials now. He'll like play some crazy person clip.
But he's not
Hey, if you
doing
like more of that kind of
himself. He's
content, you
doing
can come watch
somebody.
me.
No, but I'm saying he's doing somebody else, and he's like, "Come watch me." The reason I don't like that is because you're taking someone else's stuff and then putting it on you, being like, "This is
And
me."
I'm indifferent to Jeremy.
They could literally go and be like, "He put my content on his channel without my permission," and he probably could get a strike for that because I don't think he does enough investigative research to know who he's trying to contact for that information. You might say he has a couple people working for him, but I bet any money at some point someone's going to be like, "Hey,
Like
you used my
I
content."
think the reality
Just
is
like how
it's an
the one guy
but
sued CNN for using his content about a snake that could move with legs robotically. And CNN just pulled his content and was like, "Come check out this thing on our channel." The guy was like, "I never authorized you to use that." And they got sued by this just random dude that they just they took his stuff from.
they should though. They should get sued.
Now, the thing is with YouTube stuff, what I've looked at when it comes to audibles is you can use content of an audible for up to about 3 seconds. So you can use a famous thing. I even have like a Top Gun, a little bit of song from the soundtrack, the Danger Zone or whatever, a little bit of that. I even put in some of my stuff. Some people are like, you can't do that. You can technically use up to 3 seconds of footage, and that's it for audibles. For video files, though, that's a little different. So everything has a certain amount that you can use for it. And but I'm just saying, like, is he doing good practice? I don't know, but we'll find out. If other
I
people
just
go and be like,
I
hey,
look
you
at
hijacked my
people like
video
him
and I
as,
didn't want you
you
to.
know, he was just a simple person trying to do like a fun little show. I think didn't even like start out more of like a comics and all that kind of stuff. And he happened to get a little political the one time, and I think it
Mhm.
resonated. And he
I
got
think that's
more
all it
involved
is
in the whole
now. It's just
But look,
politics are
but
so
because
popular now for
but
whatever
because
reason.
it
It never used to be. When we were
yeah
kids, politics was the most unpopular thing ever. The
yeah,
reason the
but
Clintons were
that's because our
so
I know that's what I'm saying. It's
the Clintons and the Bush
because
were
of all
so
that.
overlooked is because nobody wanted to watch any of that stuff.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared.
Nobody
They
cared
let
at
it
all.
happen. Our parents just let it happen, basically,
And
and looked the other way. And why not? Because everything was really going in their favor. Prices were cheap for them. Wages were good.
mhm,
You
yeah,
just got into the idea that women can work. So, like, every single married family is like, holy shit, we're making double the income?
yeah.
Like,
But
like,
that's what the government sees now, and that's why they've increased all this stuff. That let's keep blowing our wads and making all these extra quadruple billion-dollar reforms where we're going to cut inflation by literally increasing it, and then saying it doesn't happen. They're just like, are you brain dead? The government doesn't make money; they spend it, and if they create inflation, it just affects all of us all the time. It doesn't come back unless there's some kind of boom where we're actually making money from another country and it's coming into us. It's like, hey, we sold this wooden peg set to China and they really love this shit. We're making a lot of money that way. We're actually making money coming back to us because we have
things
a
always
value and we're getting that value back to us.
everything's
That's
all
the only
big
way.
companies, though. But that's what I'm saying. Everything's such big companies.
But
You can't.
that's the thing. Corporations are all over the place. They're not tied to any state anymore.
There's nobody
So there's
left that
no.
does like real stuff anymore. I mean, like you might have a few like good wood carpenter type people, but I bet you if you were to like the people from the 1800s who lived and died by wood making and all that were probably so much better than even anybody now.
You
I
look
mean,
at
I
how
hate to
look at
say
old
it, but
churches. Look at old churches. The stone cutting, the wood carvings,
I mean,
massively decorated, like absolutely beautiful. Today, you know what they do when they want to put up new molding on? You know what they do? Even in Milwaukee, when they want to put up new molding that's fallen down, or just old stone molding that fall down, what they do is they take a laser picture of the thing that it was, whatever that is, and they take foam and they cut the foam with a little laser thing and they put it up there and they put a little plaster over the foam and it's not even real rock anymore. It's just you would think it'd be a stone carving, but it's just plaster. It's just literal, you know, um, packing foam with a little plaster over it to make it look like stone. It's not even the cheapest thing you can get away with to make it look like the thing, but it's not actual authentic anymore. I'm just saying this is where corporatism has
like
gone to.
watch a
It's like
Wawa get
what
made.
you're saying. It's all fake shit all the
All
time.
those nice stones and all
It's
that, but
it's
you
not
watch it
like
like
it's not
metal
like
poles and then just gluing it all on.
it's not like how it was in the past with, and I think that's what Jesus was. I think Jesus would be fully about that because
I can't go to a restaurant and get a big band play for me. It
let
would cost like $2,000.
let me say this here. Let me say this. He was about authentic things. You talked about the talents, your talents, and that directly ties into what you do as work. What do you do as work? The one man with the with the what's 6 talents went out and doubled his money. Doubled his talents, brought it back. Jesus was proud of him. Yay, good job, man. One with 2 made 4. He was proud of him. The one with the 1 talent went out and buried it because he didn't want to lose it. And then Jesus told him to get out of his sight and he wasn't worth anything. I think that's a story about our lives. And I think Jesus was promoting capitalism at that point. Your talent that you do, you have to go and make it. Well, however it is, whether you have a lot or a little, you have to go and double that. And then you make yourself out to be something in life. So what does that mean? Well, that doesn't mean joining in with a corporation and being a slave now, does it? It means you
So I
make your
kept
own
saying,
product and you make your own product great. So if Jesus was a capitalist, and the talent story that's actually talked about in the Bible would probably corroborate that, I would say.
yeah, I would say if anything, Jesus is as we know what a capitalist is, that he's closest to that. I think again, capitalism has its flaws in the sense that there's always going to be a winner by the end.
Yeah, some people can
And
take
I think
advantage
that,
of some
that
things,
that's
but I think we should probably make some rules to be like, uh,
well, I think that there should just be in it, and it's sickening to say, but I think at some point you should just have to say it's like, okay, the family members get X amount of dollars each. Like they can get, it's almost like how, if a bank is federally insured by what, $1 million or whatever, or I guess different countries have different amounts and whatnot. But like
you know
it should be
what?
the same thing. It's like if a family member dies, like, and they have $82 million, each member of the family can get $1 million. Past that, it just gets dispersed amongst people.
Hmm.
Like it gets pushed out, and it's like people would say that's not fair. He made all that extra money. You know what? Who gave him that extra money but the entire country?
I
So
was just thinking
it's
earlier.
like you can't argue with a great idea. You get $1 million. If everybody starts equalizing that out, that the $1 million, you can make it always with $1 million, and nobody else has that extra advantage of already starting with $1 billion.
Hmm.
Maybe the older people might be like, yeah, I got billions. I've played everybody into the system. But I'm gonna die tomorrow, and then everybody's like, I got 40 kids, so they'll each get $1 million. That's cool. But I got 80 some billion. I was so smart making. Everybody's gonna be like, yo, once this person dies, we're all rich.
Yeah, and you
Like,
know what? You know what?
like it won't matter. Like we'll all be rich. Hey, thanks. We'll buy whatever. Hey, we liked your dad. He had tons of money. We're all rich because he had tons of money. We'll buy whatever product you got, son. Don't worry. You'll be rich too, like your dad. Come up with a good idea or keep running his
The
business.
problem with that, well, the
It's
problem
fine.
the problem that happened, I believe, is that corporatism probably started with the whole fact that one person got filthy rich, passed it on to the generations of their kids, and their kids did not know what to do with it because
Right. They just didn't know. Yep.
they weren't the entrepreneurs. They didn't do the things their dad did or their mom did, and they had no idea or interest or care, and they just
The
abused.
dirty politicians with
They
their
they
with their
they
cheap salaries,
they
annoyed
either
at
abused the
basketball
company,
players and
they abused the company, or they tried to make it into
and
some kind of
rich schmuck
entity where
schmuck kids
they could never lose that money.
had tons of money.
They found a way to manipulate the system where they could never lose that money. Now that's where things kind of go wrong. You get
That's
inherited
why
a company and
politicians
you
thought
don't
they
even
were
know what you're
invincible
doing with
because
it.
they thought they were dealing with stupid kids, but they didn't think about the whole entire public of people.
Hmm.
They just thought I'm dealing with these dumb rich kids that their parents had the businesses. These kids don't even know what they're doing,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's a
But they
thing.
didn't think about the people being like, "Yo, we watching you do this."
Hmm. That's the thing too. Like Algison's saying, sell your stocks, get everything in Salvatore, live off the grid as much as you can. Now that would be a interesting way to live, but that depends upon if everybody wants to do that. Does everybody want to go back to physical assets instead of a card? Do you want to carry around tons of change and dollars all the time, or do you want
Physical
to carry,
assets are only
you know,
controlled by your own protection and or a piece of paper given to you by a
and
greater
and
entity's
that's
protection. And if they choose to not protect it by the means of somebody will give them more money,
yeah,
then you're out of luck. And
and
that's what
you're
I'm saying.
and
Like
so when you look at different capitalistic societies and things like that, look at Brazil, look at how they live. When you take away the guns, you end up with small cartels or small little gangs everywhere controlling this block or that block or this other block, and then they might fight amongst each other. And you got the government trying to work their police system, but they're going to be constantly clashing back and forth because they're two different ideologies. They're two different perspectives.
shoot.
And so therefore it comes down to if you're going to be with the poor, you have to live like the poor. If you're going to be with the wealthy, you have to live like the wealthy. But you try to clash against it, you're going to have massive problems. If you come
Yeah,
move over to
you're
here,
like the mixed kid in the 1920s.
yeah, and the thing is, that's what happens when you lose all your
Sorry, that
guns.
was
People
a
are
bit
like,
racist, but
nothing will
it
happen
is
if we
true.
lose all our guns. In a society like us, we might end up being
Yeah,
like Brazil.
yeah,
And then you're stuck
yeah.
if you're
There's a
poor,
lot of 3D printers out there.
you're stuck in that area for life. You can't leave because you're
You can
not the
take away.
wealthier class. You're not the you know, you need to in a society like that where you're protecting your asset, you need a fucking firearm. You need to protect yourself. Your cops aren't going
You
to
hear?
show up and protect
You
your
hear?
assets.
I'll gladly
Our
get rid of
cops
all
are
guns.
our cops.
I'll gladly get rid of all guns as soon as there's no more murders. Because you know
Yeah,
what? You can get rid of every single gun, and then 3D printers will produce new guns, and nobody will know they're there, and we'll still hear gun shootings, and we'll be like shit, and then we'll be more 3D print, and you'll realize that now you don't even have a gun to protect yourself, and now you keep stealing hearing gun, and more people will be trying to figure out how do I still get a gun online. I'm sure Google search will be like proving it. A billion searches all of a sudden for how do I get guns. I need a gun. I feel unsafe. My guns were taken.
you're always going to have
All the
even if it's not you or your family, you're always going to have other people thinking they need to defend their community or
I still hear
they need to
gunfire.
defend their family. This is what it starts up with. They need to defend their family, right? But then it gets bigger than that. Now you got a big enough family that you think this community or city is your family. Now you have to defend that
You have to
because
wear a mask.
you
You
have
get a
you
butler.
have to do that. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger until some point that but then you got
Disney buys you. Sorry, they didn't buy
you're
DC yet, did they?
throwing me off my point here. Uh, I'm just saying, in a society, you're always going to have that. Until people will stop attacking each other over resources, you are always going to have that. If Nikola Tesla was successful in making the electric rail thing that could give us free energy all the time, if somebody was successful with having an almost infinite amount of resource material where we never had to rely upon a source of money and we didn't have to rely on that, then we wouldn't have to fight over stuff. Maybe an
We don't see
ideology,
Atlantis
but
existing anymore, do we?
yeah, that was destroyed long
We don't
ago.
see the.
And
We
not
don't
to
see
say,
the.
and you know what? I honestly think Atlantis was a capitalistic society too. I think they did the same exact things. I don't think there was anything different there. They did war. They probably had little skirmishes here and there over like who controlled this thing or
I
that
mean,
thing.
their whole thing was a circle. Isn't the circle more of a capitalistic idea? Round the money goes.
The perfect circle? I
Is the
don't know.
circle. I mean, that's what capitalism kind of stands for. The money's
Oh,
supposed
with the
to
dollar, you got all the circles on
circulate.
there.
You're
You
supposed to
know that.
Well, that's what I mean. The money's supposed to circulate through a capitalistic
Yeah,
society.
circulate. Yeah, but
But that's
with a feudalistic society, everything goes right to the king.
yeah, it goes
So if
right to the
there's
king
so
and
if
gets
there's any extra
distributed
stuff,
downward,
and then if he
which
wishes
is the
to,
pyramid.
yeah, yeah. So feudalistic societies, which go way back into the pyramid thing, that's just going to end up being like who I would, and that's how it even plays on Crusader Kings. Who you wish to have on your council, who you wish to have on your side. Everybody else doesn't matter. You know,
Genghis Khan.
it works, but only if the government doesn't print money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if they start
Especially,
printing
especially
fake
money for their own
imaginary money.
endeavors.
Yeah,
We need more money for
this
our
is
own programs that make no sense. It's like
yeah, in a
I
feudalistic
know
society, money is
it's
infinite, is finite.
it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
one thing to
finite.
print
Yeah.
out money to give everybody as the person to recreate us, but when you start giving it to specific people more,
Yeah.
you've now created a like that is everything the government shouldn't stand for. You've
Yeah,
created a
this is
specific.
this is what we have to do is kind of, and I don't even know if I could say this, but I guess what if we had some kind of overhaul of the system where we could take out the stocks, we could take out their extra ability to make extra money through, because Biden and his family were making money through Ukraine on our tax
But
dollars, on our tax dollar bill. You might be like, well, Trump did stuff too, but he
it
didn't
won't matter.
use
Look,
the
here's the thing
government
though.
to do it. So he wasn't using our taxpayers to
Bill
do it at the
Gates,
time.
Warren Buffett, all the people in the WEF, they're all so old. They're all gonna die within the next 10 years anyway. And if their kids think they're taking over some entity, their kids are stupid. Why do you think we don't see anything with their kids? Because they're the real shadow organizations. The other ones don't even care. They're already gonna die. They're old. They're famous. They don't, and that's what I'm saying. Like, but they're stupid. These kids don't know anything. They don't. Look at Hunter Biden. The guy is a walking clown show.
Yeah,
He
he is a walking clown show.
and if you even get to watch him, it's almost sad because he feels like he's just supposed to like look normal, and he can't. I mean, I feel bad for the guy in the sense that you got raised up to be corrupt. It's sad, like you've been literally abused your entire
and
life
they didn't
to
want to
become.
say anything about it because it would have affect his political campaign. This has nothing to do, and this is, you know what? Honestly, I think this is kind of anti-capitalism in a way. I think the two-party system is almost anti-capitalistic in a sense because you got two choices. That's all you got.
Well,
I
capitalism is
honestly
an
think we should.
economy.
I think we should break
Uh,
it down in just individuals like it was before it turned into the party system. Why do we have this shit? Why do we have two choices?
Capital, capitalism is supposed to be the economy,
One ice
and
cream
it's
with a
like
fly in it, and the other one with
I
two
I
flies in
almost
it.
feel like in a weird way you almost need like two presidents. You need a president of government which requires law, and you need a president of economy which
This is what
requires
happened.
money circulation and
They're
taxes.
totally they can
And
just
and in a weird way you could even make a president above both of them that could demean like their branches down because it's
but
getting weird
that's
anymore.
the thing.
I
That's
guess
what all these.
president would have to be a different
Here's the
term,
thing:
but
these executive orders that they've been doing are almost like kingship things.
yeah,
This
it's
is
like kingship. It's
dictatorship things. As soon as I get in office, I'm turning around all
well,
the things
that's what
that
I'm
he
saying.
did.
Well, they keep saying
That's
that
just
idea of like
dictatorship.
we have
That's
majority, we have
fascistic
majority.
dictatorship right
The only
there.
reason you have
I'm gonna
majority
do
is
this.
you have no majority. The only majority you guys actually have is that you will work together to down somebody else in the same group. But you guys, no one agrees with anything anybody's
But
saying in all
that's
50
dude.
states.
That's what the
No,
three systems are built for. The judges, the president, like the
it's a
king,
fake
and
majority
then
you have.
the elector. It was three different systems work to balance each other so that not one of them would have complete power.
But the whole thing is,
But
you
it
can
did.
say,
It's not how we're having things right now.
yeah, but that's because our whole life is so much more complex. You never had Netflix and all that kind of stuff back in the day, and this much of businesses
It's
and this
just
much
another material.
technology.
It's digital material, but it's another material to sell.
And I agree. But the thing is, the government should have never gotten that complex. They've made themselves require so much more taxes because they've gotten themselves insane, weird. Yes, we'll give you the money for that. Yes, the
Hmm.
money should go to that. And it's like, no, you should literally be saying no. They go to banks for that kind of stuff. Banks take those risks, not the government.
Yeah, this has been an
The
inside thing with a lot
government
of
doesn't
things.
get
Like people
government
would
isn't even
say,
giving any money towards
the,
almost
the,
anything other
the,
than fixing up our own country
but that's the thing, dude. This is why we're at this
and
insane point where
policing
we,
it.
we feel like there's this giant break in the system is because so many things have been so corrupt and so out of order
But
for such a
all
long
this is
time
because
that
we
we
even
need to
even because
we
we
need
made
to kind
NASA
of
and we went to the moon. America kept thinking, we need to donate, we need to give more money to all these programs like the WHO and
yeah.
nonsense. Look, you gave the most top paid officials the biggest fucking dork
Did,
and wrong person.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like Alton's saying, government doesn't even need taxes. They print money, and taxes are just a means to suppress money or suppress people.
Right.
But
Right.
the thing is, in the past, when it was on the gold standard, when we had things on an actual standard, they would tell us what the numbers are. This is what we need. We need a crystal clear televised thing all the time. What our money is based upon the amount of things it's valued based upon. This is the thing. We forgot that our money is a value based on something else. It's based on gold. It's based on oil. It's based on this kind of resource. It's based on that kind of resource. We fucking forgot that, and we're not holding them to the standard that it's supposed to be held up against
That's
something.
what I said.
Now they're
All
just
this
putting
can
it
be
into
fixed.
they're just putting it into the idea that is based upon how much we have to pay back our banks based upon interest.
All this
That's
can be
not
fixed.
a valuable number to work it
Just
upon.
completely
That's not a
demolish the
valuable
whole
number.
idea
It has to
of
be based upon gold. It has to be based upon silver. It has to be based upon how much of that did we give you, and you're giving us back this value for us to play with. That's what it's supposed to be based upon. And this is what we're not doing. Because even when Jesus is saying, give to God what is God and give it to Caesar what is Caesar, we don't even know Caesar has our thing anymore. For all we know, Caesar lost the thing. So we're trying to give to Caesar what Caesar's, but we don't even really owe him that anymore. He's overspent it, and it's not even a same value anymore. It doesn't hold the same kind of value. So if we were back in the day with Jesus, would be like, okay, well maybe this gold coin equaled that gold coin. But now we don't even know what that means anymore.
In Fort Knox, I doubt there's as much gold in Fort Knox as we had originally assumed.
The point of money is that
I think
this
we
dollar
sold
is
that,
supposed to
but I don't
be
think we
equal
sold
to
it out
this
of
amount
country.
of gold.
I think we sold it in country. I think they slowly just kept selling it to like.
We need to know what the value is directly based upon what the value is. They don't have to show us where the stuff is. Just
What's the value of oil right now?
Just as long as we can see that it does match up. But if we don't know that, it basically means that it's infinite. It could be any amount because we don't really know what the real value is because we can't examine the thing that it's evaluated to. So if we don't know the correlation, how do we know what it even equals?
This is the whole point of why they are trying to argue the idea of it's not a real recession. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
Because for them, it's all made up anyways, right?
I get it that it's a clown world, but that's what I'm saying. The whole thing's made up. I mean, I talked about this like a year ago that I was like, what the hell is money even? Because if you always can just print more, why are you not? It's not money. Money doesn't make any point. Resources make the point, and the human person is the biggest resource. And how well can they produce a good, clean, efficient?
But even more than that, what we've done for centuries.
People in China are selling reused oils and stuff that are getting people sick. You do not need that to somehow get sent over to here because some person thinks they can make extra money, and the damn FDA doesn't notice anything anymore because either they can make extra money or
why do you think
they're not doing their job? They're not even good at their job or something.
Altison and everybody else in chat and you, Brad, and everybody, why do you think they spent money to make a bill to give the not the FBI, the IRS guns,
$87,000.
Why do you think they gave them money to give them guns and lethal force to attack anybody they wanted to? Because at some point they're going to go and just attack random people that have a lot of money and take that stuff and put the value back into the bank and be like, "Hey, we're fine. We just took it back from these bad people because they didn't pay.
They're just going to be armed,
they
and
didn't
they're
pay all
also
their
going to have a
taxes.
police
So now
officer with them.
This is how they get the resources back. They literally put the bill into Congress that we get to see. They're going to turn the guns on the people, whether it's fair or not fair, and get the money back and put it back into the banks or put it back into the value of America and be like, hey, we solved the problem.
What money? I mean,
they're going to find resources, cars, houses, material, whatever. They're going to find ways. Drugs, maybe? You were talking about drugs tonight? I was like, I don't know if I want to go into drugs tonight, but
I'm talking about drugs.
How much cocaine?
What are you talking about, man?
How much cocaine do most police stations have locked up in their vault, their stock, their?
I was thinking about how crazy deadly like fentanyl is and stuff. Like you just. Like,
oh yeah, like
touch it, you're dead.
I don't do drugs, but I'm just saying. Look at how.
If you touch it and you're dead, what are you supposed to do to even get a high from it? Like,
I don't know why they would celebrate anybody that was a giant drug addict with that. I mean,
Look, it was one
maybe
thing to
have
make
some
synthetic
problems, but if
marijuana
you're
that was basically made from the same thing as acetone. Great, we can now smoke acetone, and
uh,
it's a drug.
I think
Cool.
I think it comes down to kids when they're teenagers. They want to try different things and have an experience, but the fact is, like, anything that becomes like a serious addiction that really like impedes in your life, that's not a good thing. And I've seen this other video, somebody talking about like you can get addicted to anything. It's kind of true. You really can get addicted to them. Anything could be an addiction.
Habits. It's habits.
Yeah.
It's what do you do every day? That's your life. I
Hmm.
mean, that's what you chose to do. Every choice you choose. That's what we were even saying the last episode. That's a sense. That should be considered a sense. Choice, the sense of choice. Some people
Hmm.
make thousands more decisions than other people. Other people just coast through and wait until somebody asks them a question before they have to make a decision. I'm hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do I want to eat?
Yeah. Look at
Just
what
let me look around. Oh, there's a Burger King.
look at
Looks
what
like
we
a
have
Burger
today
King.
versus what we had long ago. Fentanyl, Floyd, and Martin Luther King. Look at how different we've been in a society. One guy actually fighting for rights, and
I know. Equal rights with
another guy
everybody.
gets killed, and
Another guy
he's
robbing a
seen
store on
as the
drugs.
next Martin Luther King, which not even
No,
remotely the
no,
same.
they don't like Martin Luther King anymore. That man was way about equal rights. They don't want equal rights.
Oh, we want higher rights,
Yeah,
you
higher
know.
rights.
But then that's just kingship and stuff,
Well,
you know. There's,
kingship
but
ran
but
by jesters.
that's what I'm trying to say. That was the whole point of the founding of this country. It was three different systems: a kingship, judges, and a certain
Yeah,
group of peoples. So I think the electorates that were supposed to like try to balance the system, so it wasn't this thing or that thing or the other thing. It was a mixture of all of the things, and it would keep checks and balances on each other. And that's what we were supposed to be about. And that's not what we are about right now, because executive orders say, fuck you, I will do what I want to do. And, only certain times it doesn't pass the,
well, it just keeps happening
the
too.
courts,
There's more and more
like with the
executive
like the
orders.
forced vaccines. It didn't pass the courts because that was completely bullshit and not constitutional.
Look how
You
Teddy
know,
Roosevelt makes an executive order to protect the forest that now you find out has like all this copper and stuff like that, and it's just so argumentative that you want to. The Republican side would love to just mine it.
hmm
I mean, this is the same argument 100 plus years ago now that the whole reason he protected it. He knew that was obviously that's where the best minds are, but it's also a part of history, and it gets into this whole idea. It's like, what is America? You know what I mean? For it,
we're trying to have a diverse group of people and have a good life at the same time with rules, but there's always going to be certain people within that diverse group of people that are going to try to pounce on everybody else and make sure that they don't have any rights because they're narcissists, they're brought up
but
that way.
they're
They're
capitalists, though, you can argue.
no
They
capitalist means a fair society for trade and you know
does it. I
well
mean,
with
I'm not.
our country
I
having
like that
freedom and
concept, and I don't. I
justice
don't necessarily know if that's capitalism, though.
with
I
our
would venture.
okay with our society having freedom and justice would mean that there'd have to be balance of laws to make things equal and fair. Now in
All right.
another
Well,
country where it's anarchy, I wouldn't say that's always going to be the
is
thing.
that
Which
is
other
that
people are promoting
equity?
anarchy, but it's like if you got pure anarchy, you have people doing whatever they want,
What i- what is
and I
equity?
don't think they're going
With
to like.
equal equity.
And I don't even know if equity is a great word. I don't know if that's.
I don't really understand the concept of equity, to be honest. I'm a little.
I'd have to look into that more, but it's just from what I've heard. I don't know. Um, yeah, and that's the thing. We've become in a two-party system now. One party wants to rule the other party, and it turned into a tribe. Most of the democratic stuff that you hear from people that support democracy or not democracy, but Democrats and stuff are tribal. They're tribalistic. They just straight out the box are. And they can't look
Well,
like I've talked to some of
Democrats
them.
are
They
all
can't
about
even look at
like
news from the other side. They're like, I I can't see that. No, 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 no.
Democrats are all about rights,
You
and
only know
Republicans
half the
are all about
information,
like
dummy. You only know half the
trying to
information.
make
If
money,
you're a
trying to make.
Republican at all the stuff, then you can be like, okay, well, this is what they said, and then this is what they said, but this one counters this, and oh, this one actually has the better argument, so this one is probably the one that's right because they don't have any information. Their whole information, like the Steele dossier, was all bullshit. There was no information on there. Lies for years. Just went on. No information. Nothing to prove. And now the Democrats and Hillary are getting sued.
Can't talk about an ongoing investigation.
It's over. There's nothing to it. A whole bunch of bullshit. I'm just saying, some things on certain sides get turned out and you find out that they were just bullshit from the start. Some things are always, going to be like, some things are just running lies, that are just going to be pushed through just to castrate the other side, essentially. And what we turn into with this whole system is now I'm on this diatribe or I'm on this diatribe.
Matt Gaetz was really badass about the Hunter Biden laptop the other day.
Oh, yeah?
He just basically like, he's like, do you have the laptop? He's like, I just want to know if you have it. And the guy's like, I can't comment on a active investigation.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll tell you what you can comment on. Or he's like, and he like gets in all these like details. And I butchered it. It was good to see. If you could look it up. But he's like, you're not the only person with the laptop. He's like, we know what's on it. And he's like, you might not be talking. He's like, but whistleblowers are talking. And he's like, and they're going right to Grassley, and they're telling him, like everything. And we have the laptop. And he's like, so you don't, at some point you're not even gonna have to talk, because that's what I mean. You can plead the fifth, but that doesn't mean that you're found innocent every time. Eventually, when all the information goes against you, it kind of gets to a point that if like a judge says no, but like you start saying like all these other judges, and it's like, okay, eventually, it gets a little bit weird. It's like, okay, so we have down the policy middle, and then it starts to have to become like a Supreme Court decision type thing. And it's like you have to look at the facts. And again, it's like if the Supreme Court can't, I mean that's what I mean. Joe Biden should have no look. If you're going to pack a Supreme Court, then the first thing you should do is say, I elect, but the people can't be picked until the next election.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
guess
can't
what
pick
happens
it and
with
then
these
add
bills
people
too?
to it.
And guess what happens with these bills too? They're going to put out all these bills that are all going to save us, but it could go wrong. It's all going to fuck up in the next admin. And they're going to be like, you know what? We're going to say we're campaigning, and we're going to let the other side have it, and then leave them with a giant ass bill of this giant ass inflation. And everybody's going to be like, look at what they did. No, you left all this stuff to be activated by the time that you leave office, and you leave it for your opponent to make them look bad.
Let's pass the blame to the next person, or let's pass the blame to somebody else, and then that gives us, and then it gives us an excuse.
I think is going to
like
happen.
Pieces of crap. It's such a poor mentality. So many people in our own generation do that. We act like crap because we look at the excuse that our parents like treated us like crap our entire lives, so now we can act like crap now.
Yeah,
and it's like,
no, I don't want to. I don't want to leave the world that way for my kid, or generations down below that, because that's a horrible thing to do. Just because your parent wasn't there, doesn't listen to you, didn't play with you enough, didn't care, it doesn't mean. And it's and some of that, I'm not gonna get too personal, but I've taken some years to grow through some stuff. It's like, that's not how I want to be. I don't want my child to look at me like that. Some parents might not care at all about you, and some might. But if you're in that situation, like, why would you leave the world worse just because some other people are like, fuck it, let it all burn? That doesn't mean anything anyways. It's a horrible way of looking at things. I mean, that's what Jesus said, love each other
I
you
don't
know,
think I'm
whole
ever
heart,
going to do
mind, and
anything
soul, and
amazing in
love your
life,
neighbor as yourself. But it both meant the same thing. You were
but in the
loving
end,
you.
I feel like I didn't wrong a lot of people in life, and I, try to be good to people. Sure, I have some messed up thoughts sometimes, and I'll probably get judged for those. And I guess during judgment, everybody will see how my mind truly works. You know,
I think the fact is
I don't
we
know,
all
but
come together in the end, you know, as a family. But
well, that's what I mean.
Jesus said you can
I
choose
don't
to
think as
be
a in heaven
Jesus.
you're an individual anymore. I think in heaven
No, I
you
think
lose your body,
I
you lose
think
your
it. Well,
individuality.
sure, you lose your body, but I don't.
Your soul becomes a collective. That's what I think. That's the whole
I
point of judgment.
I don't think that's the case.
It
I think you're still individual as a family. Like,
you know all and you lose all.
well, Jesus talked about family or servant, and
You
I think
might
he was
yeah,
referring to the afterlife. You can be a servant or you can be
but it's the
family.
same
But
idea of Jesus.
how long is a servant
It's the
needed
same
for?
idea of Jesus and God. You might have your idea that you're your own person, but you know you're also everybody else in the sense. There is no hidden
Well, sure, we all, you know, we all started from the same
because again, who are you?
sparkly dust, but
Can you yourself abide in heaven as the person you are now? I mean, if heaven is sinless, would you even be able to be in it? And you'd have to shed a few sins and mindsets to be able to enter into that world. And if that's the case, is that even you anymore? If
well,
you
we
don't
don't.
do it yourself,
You know, that's the
and
thing.
if
We
that's the
don't
case,
really know what is in heaven. You know, because the whole thing is like the guy that was hanging on the cross with Jesus. You know, he told him he would be in paradise, and that guy was a sinner. He was a thief. But was his death enough to grant him that, or was it just his personality of just knowing that Jesus was connected with the Creator and Jesus brought him along?
well, that's what I mean. Perhaps the guy was falsely accused. Maybe he was only a thief to feed his family. And he even calculated who had the
Sure,
extra
but
bread. Maybe he
that's
stole
still
from a
considered a
dumpster
thief.
even.
And I've looked into this too,
And
and
he was prejudged and God, Jesus already knew like you've lived a good life. You've only done those to protect the people you love,
mhm.
and you've attempted to never hurt anybody
But
else in the process.
you look at that at that time with what Rome look
Society may have deemed you as evil and will kill you for
but
it, but
look at how
the
Rome
kingdom of God will not.
worked itself. They tried to judge the just and the unjust. Now, were the punishments extreme? Absolutely. Crucifixion was probably one of the worst ways to die. Slowly bleeding out, asphyxiating, yeah, just horrible
Yeah,
way to die. Especially even having your bones broken and stuff like
and
that.
then publicly shamed on top of that.
Yeah,
Just publicly watched.
yeah, and then
And
laughed at, and people,
as you watch people making profit
yeah,
selling rotten foods
yeah.
that didn't sell in
Um,
the market.
little off topic. I watched this one guy that's doing a bunch of cooking shows on ancient things, and he was basically saying the Romans would drink this like sour vinegar that was almost like a wine or a vinegar or whatever. And when Jesus was offered this vinegar, people think it was an insult, but it was just something the Roman soldiers drank. It was just something they would drink. So it was actually kind of a good gesture, I think. But Garum, thank you. I think you saw that too. Did you see that too? Did I put that video in the fun box there? It's like
What's
a
it
fish
called?
sauce. Garum is a fish sauce. There was
Garum.
Jesus
Yeah,
was
I've seen that
offered
before.
garum, and the Roman
So
elites.
it's almost like a soy sauce in a sense too.
Yeah, it's like Worcestershire sauce. I think that would probably be it with alcohol. Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
little off there, but I'm just making a guesstimation. But yeah, that was a drink that the Romans drank. In the Bible, or at least what Catholics or priests would say, was he was offered something horrible. It tasted was bad. It was like they were laughing at him. It's like they probably just gave him something to drink because they felt sorry for the guy. I mean, wouldn't you? Guy's gonna die anyways. Give him something that you like to have, or That I don't know. I would think about it like that, but I think we had that wrong for a long time. But I would have to say,
Missed your story.
I would have
Sorry.
to say before I get any more off topic, I would have to say that oh, nectar of the gods, Eltison says. I'll have to try some garum. But what I would have to say is that Rome probably worked in
Turn to the wine.
a free capitalistic society. I think, based upon what I can I don't know if I'm right on this, but I think that's what they did. I didn't really research
Yeah,
that as
and
well,
then
but
they
maybe I
became
should.
very,
But I
very gay and prideful, and then their own government started to kill each other, and then they
but
didn't have anybody to take over afterwards, and
I think they
then
because
they
of the
kind of crumbled.
kingship, it didn't it
This
didn't
is all
work
the
as
same
well.
time
It
as
didn't
right
work
after
as well
Jesus
with the
too.
kingship because
I
yeah,
love it. God didn't attack the king. He attacked the king's son, just like Jesus, because they attacked
yeah,
Jesus.
because
He attacked
salt
the king's son.
salt was a resource that was tradable at the time. That's why I even watched this one movie where someone said they left all their money behind them and then they take all this treasure hunting thing to go find it, and they find these giant
No,
jars of what?
we
Salt.
can't find
Giant jars of
any
salt because that was
records of Sodom and Gomorrah.
that
Didn't they
was a
say
money
Sodom
at a
and
time.
Gomorrah turned into salt? If you would turn
Pillars, well, Job's wife turned into
pillars up.
pillar of salt.
But that's what I mean. I think a lot of Sodom and Gomorrah turned into like salt and stuff like that. And it's all the resources are already been stripped
Hmm.
after it all got hit by heat and stuff like that. Like it became resource heaven. Probably gold and stuff over there.
Well, if everything was
Good
salt,
good
then
minerals. Good minerals. Mention obsidian.
yeah. Elson's saying, imagine being paid in silver, then you were given garum. It's akin to be given gold when everybody else got silver. So, turn to salt meaning pillaged. I don't know about that. Maybe, but yeah, it's yeah. I think turn you to salt and I'm enslaving you. Where does that term come from? That's interesting. That ah.
You ever hear
Also,
about that
the
theory?
terms
We're
worth
getting a
your
little bit
salt
long on
comes
the I'm
from.
sure, but
Oh, worth your salt. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, there might have been some more metaphors that we probably forgot about or didn't look into. You know,
yeah, salt's a very interesting commodity.
turning them into slaves when you turn them into
I
salt.
always think it's weird how our ocean. Oh, maybe there's more to salt than we know.
Well, what they say is
It's
there's
like a.
salt deposits that are up against the ocean
Well,
reef
don't
barriers, and
doesn't
it
salt
and
like
it
keep demons out? Don't they use
pushes.
salt and like to make circles and stuff like
Oh
that? It
yeah,
keeps
yeah,
demons.
yeah. The thing is, like, if you ever watched Supernatural, which I think some people did. I mean, I liked it, but I think it has some truth to it, believe it or not. But
Maybe the demons live
you pour
under the
salt,
ocean.
you pour salt around your house, you pour it in front of your windows, you pour it in front of your door, a line of salt, so that ghosts and like evil can't pass. But also iron was considered a thing that would keep spirits out, so they would put iron posts around cemeteries. It wasn't to keep people in or out; it was to keep the spirits, I think, the evil spirits from getting in, or the evil spirits from getting out. One of the other two. But iron bars would keep the spirits from moving because they couldn't. They would phase out. They wouldn't be able to get through that. I don't know if there's any more to that than what I heard about, but
Yeah, I think there's
salt purity is
more
because of
truth to all
purification.
that kind of stuff.
Something become pure because salt would keep foods pure and last for a long time. So salt would make things last. So instead of molding, growing
But he's
bacteria,
right.
what you
Salt
would
kind of
do with meat is you would salt the meat with the salt and then get all the salt on the meat and then it would stop it from decaying.
bury it.
Because the salt, what the salt does, that's why you put salt on ground when it's in wintertime because it absorbs the water into it and then either evaporates or turns into some kind of gel. I think that's why you get these like hard white spots on the ground because it liquefies but then hardens. So salt eventually just sucks water out and
I would love to build my
dehydrates
own
things. That's why if you have a
like
salt bath, you'll feel very, very thirsty after a salt bath. Did you know that? You ever have a salt bath? You know, put those Epsom salts in your bath and
every day.
you,
I
it,
also use alcohol
yeah, you'll feel pretty dehydrated
every day. Every
afterwards.
day.
The Scandinavian thing, it's druidic. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, salt. Yeah, the qualities of salt are very interesting. Um,
Maybe we should examine it more in a scientific aspect, like how many atoms and protons and like I should look into all that. Maybe there's more
hmm.
interesting. I think it'd be another episode. Kind of if we were to find some
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if we went into that whole
crazy
thing, that would be
historical
crazy.
events
Yeah.
regarding salt.
That would be
And
a fun look into that. Honest to God, I think that'd be really
because I mean, it
fun to
seems
do.
like salt is like as it's like super abundant, and it's also
Hmm.
super. I mean, it's like in the ocean. Why why is it in the
And
ocean?
you know what makes me actually think about the Casino Royale movie where he gets poisoned and then he gets a glass of water and he puts a bunch of salt in it and he drinks it and he vomits to get the poison out? Why did a bunch of
It's supposed
salt
to re
water make him vomit? Wouldn't the salt water have some kind of, I don't know, like absorb the poison inside a little bit more and then
well,
that
well,
that
it's
that
just like you're supposed to assume that the ocean's salty because of all the sediment that keeps going into the ocean.
the salt sediment.
But for that to but the ocean's larger than the amount of land, let alone the few tributaries. You're telling me that over the course of the million years that much salt has created that the salt's off the we have so much
Yeah.
salt that's still no, there's no way. The amount of salt's like 1% to the ratio of ocean water. How
No.
deep all that
No.
if all that was fresh ocean water originally, there's no way. That dude, it goes miles deep of
No. No. There's there's
ocean water.
there's
And beyond
there's
that,
so
eventually
much
that
salt
salt
that
would
we
have
can't
sank.
find that's probably buried in
That
the ocean
salt would have
somewhere.
sank.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
maybe
It's buried in
that.
the ocean somewhere, and now it's because it's loosening it up every little wave that it slowly comes to the surface and it
At that amount
mixes.
of pressure, and we can taste it up at the top. For that to be true, that we should be
There's
able
a
to go like
shit
a
more
mile deep.
low lot salt.
If we were to go
What
like a
about the
mile deep
brine?
and
What
test the
about the
amount of
brine?
salt ratio to the water,
What about the brine lakes? The other lakes in the bottom of the ocean. What is that made of? Is that made of brine? Is what is that material? Is that
I have
salt?
no clue. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Alton probably knows about this. You ever look up lakes in the ocean, and you'll
Remember that
see
one?
lakes in the ocean that looks like when you're in the ocean, there's a lake that you could go swim in, and it's I think it's filled. I don't know if it's brine or whatever it is, but it's filled with some material, and it's so heavy that it was
I
it
remember a TV
maybe it's
show.
hydrocarbons. I
It
can't
was like
remember
a
what it is, but
cartoon
it's another
where
kind of material.
they found a bubble underneath the ocean, and there was like another species of like lizard people or something living there. I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't lizard people, but there's something living under there, and there's like a bubble under the ocean. They would like dive down deep, and they found like a bubble, and it was like there's like a whole society living in there. I was like, tight. It's like such an old TV show, probably early '90s. It's
Hmm.
like coming up with. I don't remember what it was though.
Salinity levels is higher the deeper you go.
Is it?
It's
Is he
what
stating that as a fact, or is he just
only certain worms and crustaceans live down there. Yeah, plus old, really finagled, ugly-looking sharks live down there too, and
weird to
giant
think that
squids,
all life would have
giant
began off of
octopi.
like obsessive amounts of salt composites? Like just like you
You
have
know
to
the
keep
weirdest
like
thing they talk
let
about? Like, why do we need salt in our diet? We don't produce it, so why do we need it? We're not supposed to drink salt water, so why do we need
is salt
salt?
Is salt part of your life? Is salt part of the key to life?
Some people say it is because a certain amount of sodium levels you need, but you can get that through some other materials like cumin and I think turmeric and other spice
Right.
materials too. Um, you know, I don't know
Right.
why
It's
we're.
just it's sodium. I guess sodium is a fundamental block of life. To produce early life
Hmm,
anyway, you need sodium.
we need salt to control water in our body. So if we get too much water in our body, that's what I'm saying. Salt absorbs the water and then produces it into some other type of material.
Yeah, the human body is amazing. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, but like I think to get back on a capitalistic type
I
type
guess
thing,
if you
isn't
want
it?
proof that gods exist, sorry to cut you off, but you think about it.
Okay,
How long have we been around? All right,
it depends
how
on
long
who's
is
ruling the society at the time. Either it's six
Earth,
thousand or three
Earth
million
was
or
what,
whatever.
3.4 billion years old? Or something. I think like 2.2 was the troglodytes or something. I'm not positive. I'd have to look that up.
And
But for
why?
what I mean,
So
Earth only formed. But basically, even if humanity started at 2.2 billion years ago, you still think about the complexity of evolution that a species could literally be like us, exactly like us, even in 2.2 billion years. Based on everything else you see that space takes, it takes a million years just for light to travel. You know what I mean? Like space things don't really happen that fast in anything anyway. So for evolution in 2.2 billion years, and it's clearly less than that, but I'm saying at the most that the beginnings of life that whatever needed to be that created us, 2.2 billion years is not that long in the sense of like, the complexity of who we are. So it's like it's almost like you'd have to kind of believe, and it's even less than that of like God clearly exists. I mean, clearly the evolutionary time scale doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't. It should have
Mhm.
taken like, for Earth to be inhabitable and all that kind of stuff. It should have taken much longer. I mean, mold doesn't take that long to grow. Things can grow fast, but
Yeah, this is the same thing I was arguing the other time. When I used to argue evolution a lot. It's like why did some of the old giant things like the trilobites and these other things that were millions and millions of years old that are some of them are apparently still around. Why did they not evolve into something else? Why did the other monkeys not evolve with us?
evolution
Why
come.
if there's
All right.
evolution, why are there leftovers? There shouldn't be leftovers. It should be everything evolves at the same rate because that genetic scale should work the same way as everybody else.
Yeah,
So if I'm
you should
evolving
see
and you're not
significant more
evolving,
species.
either you got
All right,
affected by some kind of gamma radiation and I didn't,
we don't have
and
evolution of species to species. We have adaptation of species to species. There's clearly a difference. Like they say, God created the birds and the animals. You understand that there's like a difference. The reptiles is one kind of creature.
Mhm.
Animals is, you know, I do think clearly you can see how you can manipulate a dog to become so many different things. You have adaptation. Adaptation is a
You could
clear
have
cut thing.
adaptation through mutual
Monkeys
communication,
exist
like
in
how
tons of different kinds of settings and tons of different kinds of forms.
yeah,
Adaptation has
like we
clearly
have
played.
cattle with cows versus how, if they were bison or whatever at the time. They were domesticated because they're like, "Oh, you want to use some of our milk? You'll give us a nice area to graze with and you'll protect us?
Well,
Sure, we'll work together." You know?
what I'm saying is, if Noah had an ark and it really did exist, and who knows how long ago the story could really even be? Maybe the story of the flood was actually long before Cancer, 11,000 BC with that flood. Maybe this is an older, long time ago story
Mhm.
that just seemed to get passed down as the beginning of civilization, that there was once a flood. And I mean, you think a deer is going to run in the same thing as like an antelope kind of family in the long run. A
Mhm.
horse and a zebra are probably somehow connected not that long. in the
Hmm.
story of like the idea of like Noah, I don't think he really had that many different. You might have had a lion,
Oh no,
but
no.
you didn't,
I
and
have
you
to.
didn't need a tiger and a panther and all that came later as the
Yeah,
lions
but
merged
like
out again.
the only way I could really agree with that, like, and what you're saying, Altison, and what you're saying, Brad, is that what you said earlier when we had the placebulin, or I can't even say the word right, the particular kind of mushroom that kind of like opened our eyes to more ideas and stuff. I think that's probably where we started evolving is because of different foods.
Psychosilibin.
But it's I don't think it's just superior genetics. I think it's what you eat too, because a lot of people in different
Everything you
places
eat, I agree.
depends upon what. And the reason I'm going to say this, the reason I'm going to say this is because if you look at certain animals like the koala bear, it's extremely stupid. I hate to say it. If you love a koala bear, I'm sorry, but it's extremely stupid. And why? It only eats one type of plant. It won't eat anything else. Now, for us as humans, we eat many, many varieties of things. Other animals, a small, strict kind of diet. Certain animals that eat more different kinds of things, I think based upon what you eat and the chemicals you introduce into your body, allows your brain to take those chemicals in and it might fire off other things to be able
Right.
to
What a thought
have
process.
have a better
What
bigger throat. But that's the reason why we need all of our vitamins. We need A, B, C, D, E. We need all these vitamins. That's what we know. This is what helps us, is because we're meant to be this intelligent. We're meant to have all these things. And I think it
right.
comes down to foods. It comes down to the area you're in, probably, you know. But yeah.
What if when the story of Noah really did exist, it really was just like a simple amount of animals and stuff like that. But what if things like later were actually like civilizations that were advanced that like the lemur? What if the lemur is really just like a cross between something, two different animals that they
But
mixed, you know what I mean?
I'm just trying to say, look at animals that have a wider variety of diet. They tend to be pretty intelligent. The ones that no, but that's what I'm saying. They don't know any better, but they're also stupid because they only have one kind of source of nutrition. They don't have a wide source of nutrition. We, as humans, eat almost anything that we can get our hands on. Most other animals have a particular diet. And if you look at our teeth and you look at their teeth, their most carnivores' teeth are just like cats, just meat. Dogs have some molars, so they can, have some vegetation too. But you look at ours, we only have four canines.
It
And
doesn't
and
seem
and
like our
that's
teeth
that's why
have
we
changed
that's
for a
why we
long time in a
know
sense.
that's why we know that we're supposed to have mostly vegetables and a little bit of meat. Now the government was saying all this meat and then some vegetables. Actually, it was supposed to be more vegetables and a little bit of meat. That's
The
how we're
government
built.
must have had money in the meat industry at the time.
But I'm just
Hey, we can
saying,
make
like
money off of
you
meat.
look at what you are what you eat, and I
We need to
think
buy more land from the Amazon to keep stabilizing all this cattle. They're eating so much land. What should we do? Well, we'll just have to cut people from eating meat. How are you going to make people stop eating delicious steaks?
now this is a thing they'd have to actually test out and see on
Watch us and
animals to
learn.
start to feed them more
Greta,
things
have you
outside their
met Greta
diet
Thunberg?
and see if they get more intelligent. This is what they'd have to do for a test. This is a scientific test that people could do. Now I did this for even dogs too.
Start
Some
feeding the
dogs
monkey
wouldn't eat
brain foods,
like my
goji
dog.
berries, and
My dog wouldn't eat grapes. When I was younger, I ate grapes all the time. Red grapes, green grapes, whatever. She wouldn't eat grapes because she'd lick it, and you'd lick the outside of a grape, right? What does it taste like? Doesn't taste like anything. You cut into it and you taste the inside. You're like, oh. So I'd have to cut it a little bit, let her lick the inside of the grape, and then she would eat all the grapes because she'd be like, I know what it tastes like. Now I will eat it. But the dogs are just smart enough to lick it and go, no, doesn't taste like anything. I don't really want to eat it. But unless you cut into it to let them taste the inside, and then they know it's good for them. But that's my point. The animals, their taste test goes just that far. When I lick it, does it taste good? Nah, I'm not going to taste it. I'm not going to have it.
mouse will love
It's
to just keep
that
eating sugar
small of
cubes. It'll,
intelligence
it'll,
to do that. But
but that's what I mean. Like you're
but then I
going
got a
against
dog to eat
nature.
apples, grapes, pears, just by cutting into it without licking the outside of it, and me knowing that it's good too, not giving him random, you know, uh, the bad berries, kind of food, whatever bad food. I gave her only the good stuff that I would have, and then
You
she would eat
Googled
it.
everything prior.
Oh yeah, I googled it all when I was a kid, especially when I didn't have the internet. I was
Jeez.
born before the well, not technically, but before it was big, um, expanded diets, and I think that's why dogs. And here's another thing too: why are dogs intelligent, and in wolves, why would a basic domestic dog be more intelligent than a wolf? An
Well, it's like
expanded diet, right? They eat more things because we give them more things. We give them our table scraps sometimes. Some of us don't, but a lot of us do. We give them our foods, not just the foods they would eat. So our domesticated dogs would be more intelligent, maybe not more better equipped to hunt things like they used to as a wolf form, but they're more intelligent now than they
we're able to
were,
listen to what we say for that
and they
food.
can almost understand. Some can even try to talk back to us. They can almost want to talk back to us. Look at how things are when you start to expand the animal's diet. They become more intelligent, not just because they're symbiotic with us, but because they also have the same expanded food diet that we have. But that's what you are saying, and that's what I'm saying. When you said we started having mushrooms and we started tripping out balls and
But
and then
but
having all these experiences,
we
and
even
it's
did a
like now we
show.
started to think beyond it. It's because we expanded our food diet to
We
things
even
that
did a
we
crow
weren't eating
show
before.
episode a long time ago, probably 2 years ago, where I said you are what you eat. Like literally all things have
Yeah,
personalities.
that's what I believe.
I believe it. It's weird to think about, but things have personalities.
And
I mean,
why does ginseng help you with your memory? Why is eating ginseng helpful for you? Why is certain foods helpful for
yeah,
it? And so if it expands your brain capacity and makes you think more, it would do the same thing for other animals as well. To what
yeah.
degree? I can't say. We'd have to test that. But,
But
you
but
know,
I'm just saying in
it's
general
it's
that
true. Some foods do help with a lot of things, and maybe it's not just the food itself, it's the certain chemicals that are within the food that are
I
so
just think that I
microscopic
just
that you
think it's
can't.
deeper. It's deeper than that. You can break it down into chemicals and understand it in the sense of like protein
Mm-hmm.
and carbohydrates and amino acids and you know even down to like specifics and all that. But it it's more than that. There's like an essence to everything. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a time to eat the animal. It's the time to eat the fruit, just like there's a time to eat the animal. Like you're supposed to slay the animal and then within the next like hour and a
Mm-hmm.
half, cook it and eat it. You could do like a slow cook. I'm not saying you can't like do like a slow
Mm-hmm.
like 8 hour cook or something, but I'm saying like you're supposed to eat it almost immediately after slaughtering it.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the whole project of life. You gain the essence of it that way. Same thing with vegetables. That's why we're so empty. We go to the grocery stores and we eat things. The essences are gone in all these
Because
things. It's
it's been
it's
sitting in the
just
store for how
substance.
long?
It's just substance.
You don't know how long
You
it's been there for.
you can gain the minerals and all that and be a little more intelligent, but I'm saying the essence is gone. I'm saying there's a difference between like when you eat fresh raspberries or tomatoes from your own garden
Mm-hmm.
or fruits, you feel a difference. I don't know how to explain it, but you feel a
I know what
difference.
you're saying. I do.
And it's like a live food, and it's because it's literally just being plucked from its life. It still has life in it.
Well, I would
It's not
say,
it's not
I
really
would
dead.
say, I would say with vegetation and stuff, is a lot of that. Like if you're taking a carrot or something like that, if you cut it at the wrong area, you kill the life. But if you cut it at the growth part, like you can cut the carrot near the top, plant it again, it'll start growing back down. It'll keep growing for a long part of the time, but you can keep eating the growth and then replant it. So certain fruits or certain foods are meant to produce a fruit, and the reason why they produce a fruit is because they're intelligent. They want you to eat the fruit, not them. So they make a fruit, take nourishment from the ground, take the chemicals, nutritions, and all that, turn it into the fruit, let you pluck it at the right time. It'll grow, it'll turn a certain color, it'll make a certain smell at a certain time. You
Yeah.
pluck it, that's the time to eat it. But that's what the fruit, that's what the plant
And
is doing. It's like, I'm going to
it
make
also
something.
helps them reproduce.
This is why Jesus refers to us as plants, is because at a certain time we're supposed to produce a certain kind of fruit, so we don't get eaten, but we make the fruit so others can survive and share through the knowledge and through the things that we do. This is why he refers to us as plants a lot of the time. Other people are like, oh, we're just meant to be harvested. No, we're meant to do good things so that we can offer our fruits to other people to nourish them with what we've gained. That's what the whole point of it is. There's really nothing more to that.
I think there's something poetic that, one of the things that
You can do that with pineapples too. Yeah, I'll say you're absolutely right with that. Yeah.
human nature, like how we find faces in clouds and stuff like that. It's really no different in the sense of like we find analogies in everything.
Hmm.
I think it's kind of cool how human nature seems to never feel lost. Like we can find something out of everything. The meaning to life can be found in, why hair grows.
But that's the thing. What if it's all connected? Like
It
people say
is all
it's a
it's clearly
matrix.
all connected.
It's
I
all
mean,
connected. Like the other time,
the ending of every answer is always the same as
you know, like when I was telling you the other time, somebody was saying, "Oh, somebody call me at or somebody meet me on aisle 99," and I'm like, "Aisle, what's aisle 9?" And I look over and I'm seeing two cans, one with a 9, another one with a 9 on the can, not the for sale price. I'm like, "But what are the odds of that?" I just like looked over thinking like, "What are they talking about?" And then I just see the exact number that he was just saying half a second ago. I see these things, and that's just one example. I see these things all the time, and I'm like, it's like everything is like interwebbed together. Like there's reasons why we're here to do this. It's like it's more than just it can't be random. There's no randomness with this. It's too perfect for it to be random. It's too perfect. It doesn't make sense. If it was completely random, then everything we'd be talking about would be complete gibberish all the time, and nothing would make any sense.
well, there's definitely order. I mean,
You know?
time has order. We clearly don't jump around, or at least we don't feel like we jump around. We feel a continual sense in
Mm-hmm.
time. That's nice. I can say that's pleasant. It would be very annoying if all of a sudden you jump to a freezing cold area out of nowhere
What?
and
What? How did
then
that?
like thir
I wasn't.
30
It used to be summer here.
30 yeah, like 30 seconds later, you jump to like underwater and you just force to hold your breath and hope that, 2 minutes later you jump, you know,
That would be complete time distortion.
yeah,
Not
like,
even
and
just time distortion.
you don't have any knowledge of anything.
That would be dimension distortion
That's
because
like that
every
Netflix thing where you have different levels
right.
of food, and if you're at the good top level, it's like you might jump to like where you're making a drastic decision, and it's like all fate of humanity, and you don't even know if time means anything. You always go through just these stories, and they're like, we need you, make a decision. Should we drop the bomb? And it's just like, no. How many
Mhm.
people would it kill? No. And
Yeah,
it's like, it's so, nothing ever seems to make any sense. Like it
but
seems
like
like
I
you you might watch somebody, all of a sudden you jump to where you're saying it, should we drop the bomb? And somebody else is like making the decision. It's like, what does anything mean? I mean, at
it
least we
wouldn't
have
mean
like,
anything at that point. No, but like
eh,
some people ask this question. I think the very simplest answer is that what Jesus had to say is that we are sons of the Creator. We can choose to be slaves or servants, but we are actual sons and daughters of the Creator. And knowing that, we can improve and change our world based upon our words and our actions and our deeds. But I think a lot of people want to go out and say, no, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't be that. Why? So you have all the power? You have all the
Yeah.
control? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you're wrong. And I'm right on this. I can go ahead and just say that because this is what Jesus had to
Yeah.
say, you know. And
I have sometimes I have to be in
if he
control.
reset the timeline to make this the year 2022, I gotta say he was a powerful enough person, you know, being the son of the creator to be to push us into this that people truly believed what he was saying. You know, I would have to go along with saying it. Alton saying is partly as a result of brains evolving pattern recognition. I think the pattern recognition comes from the different elements that we put into our body, and it comes down from putting all the elements in our body. You know,
How smart is your brain to be able to realize certain patterns and whatnot,
I
and
think
what's
we
really
become
going
more
on?
earthy. I think we become more earthy the way the earth is kind of a perpetual motion machine in a sense. I'm stating that kind of loosely, you know. Maybe not really loosely because it kind of is in a sense. It is always, you know, going around the same stuff at different times, and people talk about climate change and all that. But like the Indians used to talk about different cycles of life. Remember?
You asking me?
Yeah. Remember all the cycles of life we're talking about every 2,500 years or something like that? There's the Aries and the Ram, and you got into all that. I find it fascinating. I think maybe some of that's
It's,
kind of true, but I'd like to
I feel
know
like it's more like the
how
Babylonians.
the Babylonian, the
The Babylonians started that
I
talk.
thought it was the Indians, but I
A
guess
lot
it
of
could. I
people,
guess
a
it
lot of
could be
people
because then they
call it.
probably moved over to India, but I think everything started in around Sri Lanka with that extra land mass that they.
Well, the Indians did seem to have a lot of like they have some really old stuff. I mean, don't they even have that one thing that's like 13,000 years old?
Yeah, I think that landmass that they said sunk was the original continent. And people will say, well, how do landmasses sink and rise? Well, it's all on top of water, and that's all on top of lava. So
Yeah.
either liquid you look at, they could move, and it could literally tilt the land plate this way or this way. I think that's why they talked about the mud floods in Atlantis. And Atlantis literally just got washed away because probably the continent tilted with continental shifting, and it just went whoosh, and there goes in a giant city, all underwater. And then what comes up? What is desert other than the bottom of ocean bed? You know, what is on the bottom of most lakes and all that sand? What is a desert? A previous
Quartz.
ocean bed.
Tons of quartz.
It's a previous ocean bed. How is it lake? So it was either ocean or lake. It was one of the two. But you don't get massive quantities of sand
All of that has
unless it
shifted
used to
through.
be a part of a lake system or a sea or an ocean. Something had to happen where that used to be water because usually when water runs across rocks for a long enough time, it turns it into smaller rocks, and those smaller rocks turn into sand. You know, and the Atlantis, the Raycott Center, that stuff is still there, but it's down to its foundation. It's completely down to its foundation. It's still there. People nowadays are saying like, "Oh, maybe that is." Yeah, no shit. Herodotus talked about it, put it on the map, and it's still there. Everything's still there. The whole foundation is still there. So all that stuff from long ago. Now, what was Atlantis initially? All we have are the stories. You know, maybe it was Atlas.
Time
Maybe
when
there
they
were
a time when
giants.
they did
Maybe
more
there were
experiments
giants
on
running it, or
people.
maybe the giants were people of renown and they were just very intelligent. You
Well, that's
know,
what I mean. Or maybe they were just, fourth or fifth generations of understanding how to make yourself much larger. And they
maybe they
just
did genetics. Maybe they made chimeras like they talk about long ago. They made this hybrid of something like what we're doing nowadays. We're changing our sex into whatever we want to do. At some point, someone will have a dick on their forehead.
no.
You know, and it'll be like, "This is my new gender. I'm Dick Forehead Man."
You're
And
gonna deprive me of who I feel like I am?
or what if you're
Sorry, I got it. Sorry, I got that on your kid.
what if you're a
Or or like
turkey
or like
head?
when
You're a
they see your kid all
vagina
of a sudden
man
they're
on your
they see
head.
your kid all of a sudden they're
You could
big
only have
forehead, big
sex through
hard.
your forehead and into your brain because they changed all your anatomy. What if they knew all that stuff long ago? What if they had higher technology? That's why sometimes I wonder if we're just
Vagina
essentially
mouth.
we're just essentially Final
Wow.
Fantasy VI. A bigger civilization used to exist where it just had magic and it had all these higher scientific technologies than we used to have, and then they fucked it up, destroyed the whole thing, and we start over with caveman stuff, and we're all like, no, we're the smart ones now. There never was anything better than us beforehand. What are the pyramids about? Why are they so fucking perfect? How is it that nobody makes a perfect pyramid today like they could before?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I love that
And
movie
it,
10,000 BC.
you know,
That's exactly how it was done.
I don't, I don't know. Just it
These-
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Look at Palm Islands of Dubai, modern day Atlantis. They're built on sand into the water and they're sinking at the rate of 2 centimeters a year. Huh. Imagine being a squid. Your brain is around
Oh
your
yeah, I've
esophagus.
seen those islands in Dubai. Yeah.
Food later passes through your brain. I'll have to look at
Don't they
that.
make old analogies about building houses on sand though?
Yeah, 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 they do.
I mean, wait, wasn't it even in the Bible? What was it?
If you build
It's an
your
old
house on
saying.
sand, oh my gosh, I can't remember this one.
Man, I
Usually I
have
can
to look it
remember
up.
most of them, but well, it's the little pig story. The three little pigs. One built of straw, one
But I
built of
think it's
twigs, and one
biblical.
built of brick. It's pretty much the same kind of thing, honestly. Build your house on rock. Yeah, build your house on rock, and you're a lot
Damn it.
safer.
Damn Google, tips for building a strong foundation on
Altison
sand.
found it faster than we did. Congratulations, man. You,
What is
you
it?
got that one. Build your house on rock. You know, but yeah, there's so
Yeah,
much of the
foolish man builds a house instead of rock.
yeah.
Builds his house on sand. When he hears, he does not pull them in practice like a foolish man builds out. Building the house on sand is easier than building on the rock. But it's all along. That's what I mean. It's easier. I mean, that's what I mean. The foolish man. In the long run, is it going to be that the foolish and cheap decisions is easier, or are we the foolish people for buying into it and allowing it to happen to us?
But
I mean, we have
this is
allowed
what I'm
this to
saying
happen to
even
us.
now with
We
what we
could have
talk
said
about,
no,
dude.
but I'm
We have
guilty. I
different
buy off
ways
of
of
Amazon,
we have different ways of constructing
and
houses
Amazon
now.
buys off of wherever who sells it to them.
But dude, we have different ways of building now. We build foundations that go under the ground and support the house from under the ground, which actually makes it much, much stronger. So you can build a house on not the greatest of materials. I wouldn't recommend building on sand, but you build a strong enough foundation and it's going to still last quite a long time.
We're talking about sand.
I'm saying, like, some of these old
What about dirt?
references and metaphors
Can we
don't
build on
always
dirt?
apply. Yeah, if you build a good enough, strong enough foundation.
Cement.
Yeah, you have to have the footings. You have to have the foundation wall. Yeah, usually rebar that reinforces the concrete in between. It's so much different with the metaphors from long ago till now today. Especially if you're looking at architecture, which I am.
I
That's
mean, all
one.
those buildings that are still around.
Which buildings? It means the ones that have foundations to them.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll admit most of the houses are not still around. They're like rubble.
If they have a solid foundation, it's the same thing with a tree. If it has a strong root, it'll survive. Just like I watched with Karate Kid 3 today, when I was watching Karate Kid 3 today. With the bonsai tree that got destroyed. Well, half destroyed.
Yeah, but if we were to find those houses the same amount of time that we have now, you just find the metal rotting and then rubble that was below it at the bottom all deteriorated away. The rubble would break away eventually anyway. The metal rotting might still hold stand, and metal rotting might even still look like a whole structure.
Well,
But
metal, any metal in the ocean will literally rust away and will be gone.
I'm just saying if something wasn't
Any
in the
metal you
ocean,
put in the ocean is going to
it
rust.
it
Well,
wrote.
most metals. I can't say like stainless steel and
Put it
stuff,
this
but
way. I'm saying that if like if apocalypse happened and things overgrown, and like 2,000 years later, you're just exploring, you know, Illinois or something like that, and you find,
hmm
massive skyscrapers, you know, and what you're gonna still see the metal structures and stuff like that, but all the rubble is gonna be on the ground.
okay. This is a great experiment. If we had an apocalypse, and let's say the Empire State Building was destroyed and all that, what they do for the Empire State Building for all skyscrapers is they put giant poles, giant pillars of concrete in the ground that go very, very deep into the ground. They're sunk down very, very deep so that it would support that structure at the top, so that if it started to sink, it really couldn't because these pillars are crushed, pushed so hard into the ground that anything on top of it isn't going down anymore. It's supporting the weight on the top. So if you saw the foundation of the thing, that's why when you look at these structures, they're like, why is there a structure in the ocean? Were there people that were sea people swimming around and building pyramids in the water? No, the water tables fucking rose, dummy. That's what happened. The water tables rose, and that's where the people used to live at that area at the time. Now, whether the water tables rose also and or whether that land was risen or dropped, now that could be another question. But for the most part, most of these things, the water table rose a bit and they're under the water. So all these foundations you're seeing with these square foundations in the ocean are because that's where they lived. The water table was right
They
along
built their
there.
houses on sand.
Not necessarily. Not with that. It could be with Atlantis. Atlantis could be the idea of that because maybe the continent tilted and then maybe the buildings kind of like came apart and fell off because they talked about the mudslide. At least Herodotus talks about the mudslide with Atlantis. But I'm saying most of these other places that were built right next to the sea, that could have been right where the sea line was too, and they knew that, but they didn't build it in the water. They built it next to the water. Then the water tables rose there. But I'm not. What I'm trying to say is, not everything is exactly the easiest answer to say. Some areas, the
There is no
continent might have
answer.
shifted. Some areas, the continent might have sank. Some places, the continent might have risen. The ground is moving because we're on top of water and we're on top of liquid magma, both liquids. And they keep moving around. And they try to expel the gases that comes from outside of it, and it moves continents around. People are like, well, the Earth doesn't move on top of it. Well, then what happened with Pangea and then turning into everything it is right now? Do you think that stopped? Do you think that stopped just because we've placed ourselves within the way we are?
And the
No, that
idea of
never stopped. That just
Pangea
keeps going.
and all the continents coming
The
together
gases that are coming from the core
just
of the
makes no
Earth,
sense.
the lava, and all that is pushing everything little by little. That's why you see cracks in the ground. That's why it always gets get repaired. Concrete needs to be constantly repaired because it's either splitting apart or pushing together and crumpling together because the earth is slowly moving because of all the other liquids that are moving underneath it. People don't understand this, but it's a very basic thing to look at. It's the simplest thing, and people are like, but the earth does, yes, earth moves slowly,
I just
just
think
like the
that
liquids
there's a time
that
period
it's on top of.
when a
It will
lot
always keep
of
moving. That's why sudden caverns open up and then just big giant holes just appear and then
all right,
volcanoes go up is because everything is always moving. So the earth moves with the
uh,
oceans and with the
event
lava, and sometimes it tilts, sometimes it falls, sometimes it rises,
eventually after the whole
you
heat
know.
wave of it, you go back into another ice age. And the thing is, like the South Pole, you don't really notice much of a difference because there's really, yeah, you might get the tip of down there in South America. I guess I don't know what is that. It's not Chile. I don't know what it is, but it's like the very very bottom
Is that
of
Peru?
South America. Maybe it's Peru. I don't know. I don't know
I think it's Peru.
geography of South America, but maybe that all freezes over and all that, and that gets cold.
Hmm.
And maybe we should look. Is there any evidence of down there? How far up does the ice go before it gets warm again, and you don't have like
Hmm.
a clearly frozen tundra point, but
Yeah.
like
No,
the
like
north side
everything.
clearly, like it all freezes it and you get this linear thing. But when you get this
Hmm.
linear thing, everything around there's not that much water anymore. There's
Hmm.
not that much ocean.
Yeah, there's some places that nothing changes. There's some places that a lot of it does. Like Florida keeps adding sand to their beaches all the time because it they want to make sure that it doesn't, you know, get too flooded. They're very very close to the flood level. They said if any kind of major catastrophic thing happened where there was a bunch of flood zones, Florida would be completely gone. It'd be totally submersive, totally gone. When they say certain things like, "Oh, this is going to be," and that's the whole thing. Like I have kind of the argument against the whole climate change thing in a sense. It's like if that was true in a huge sense, why do all these rich people buy all this beachfront property? They're all going to get flooded, right? They don't think so.
I don't think they care though. They're buying it because they know it's going to go away
I would
sooner than
think that they
later.
would care. I
But
would
it's
think
not
if you
about
really
money. That's
would
what I'm
think
saying.
about it, you
Think,
would
all right,
care.
all right, think about it.
You
Think about
know?
it. Think about it. If you have so much money that it doesn't really matter that you're going to lose that property, and you can probably say it's going to be insured somehow line, you're going to get some money back on it, or it really doesn't really
You
matter.
can't get any money
And you,
back if your place is a lake.
but
If
what
your
does it
place is
matter?
submerged, you can't sell it. You
Right.
you own
But it doesn't matter.
water
It doesn't
material. You
matter
can't
because
sell that.
you're thinking money. These people don't think money. They think
How you doing, Bard?
experience. They think experience.
Hmm.
Okay, if this is what's there, they know that it's gonna go. Dude, I'm telling you, when I was like probably in 2005, I said in the next like 25 years or so, 2000 by 2030 or so, like Florida will be underwater, like New Jersey
Well,
coastline will
that's
be
what they've
in.
been saying. In the 70s, they said we were going to have a climate cooling, which didn't fully happen. Then in the 90s or 2000s, climate warming.
Yeah,
Now we're at climate change because it's like it goes back and forth.
so you don't
I
believe it
think
at
it
all?
comes.
You don't think it at all? I mean, with
Well,
all that it is,
I
with the
think it
zodiac
happens.
and everything,
I
it
think it
shows the
happens
timing.
I think it happens at certain times, and I
We're
think
but
there's
we're due for that time.
and maybe that's going to happen. Yeah, but
That's what I'm
I
saying. The
I don't
zodiac
know
shows that
what's
Leo was
okay.
12,000 years ago, and it's been 12,000 years. We're due for the next ice age. That's the
Hmm.
thing about it. It's not an ice age yet, but we get the heat first before everything evaporates up. And
Hmm.
then for some reason I don't exactly know why it would all freeze. I don't know what would cause it to freeze.
Well, the
What causes the freeze?
what I'm trying to say is everything's slowly moving and slowly changing all the time. That's what I'm saying. Even with the ground and it cracking and cement or asphalt, whichever you come to, it's because the Earth is pulling apart or pushing together. That's why you get all these cracks and these potholes, and that's why road repair needs to be there all the time. Otherwise, it would probably never happen, even with reinforced concrete. It just might not even happen. We have reinforced concrete now for most new modern projects.
I
Reinforced
think the
concrete means there's
pyramids are
rebars
poured.
inside that grip the concrete from keeping it from falling apart. Um, but like with the change and stuff, I think it happens like what you're saying every so often, or maybe every 2,500 years or something. There's some big thing that happens. Giant volcanoes explode, and then everything starts moving around. That's why I think Atlantis sank, and it came back up. Something happened where a lot of water came through and just washed it away. The Raycott Center is exactly where it is. Herodotus talked about it. That's where it is.
Yeah, I'm
It
pretty sure
can't
the
be. It
Recon
can't
Center
be
is it
anything
too.
else. Other people went out and diagnosed it. They're like, well, if this was the Raycott Center, this looks exactly like where it was. I don't want to say it is, but this.
You
I'm
know,
like, you got to be a
speaking
complete
of the
idiot to
Raycott
say that.
Center,
You got to be a
Jim,
complete idiot to say
Jimmy
that. If that's
Jimmy said
exactly
he
where
was
it's supposed to
gonna
be, and it looks exactly like that, and they described
Jimmy
it
said he was gonna
exactly
put out
like
a
that, that
video.
is what it is. You
Jimmy
know?
said he was gonna put up. Did you see that last video that Jimmy put out? I don't. He said he was gonna put a video out that was gonna. You know what I'm talking about? What's the guy? What's Bright Insight?
Hey, thanks. We got a number of people in here talking about stuff.
He
Barnell
said
says,
he
"I
was gonna
like your
put out a
chair.
video.
Humans will fight change. I love her fighter. You're saying Jesus was a well, I can't say the word right here, but he was a carpenter. Yes, he was a carpenter. Was he a
A carpenter
vegetarian?
is a very
Was he
capitalistic
was he
business.
a vegetarian
Was he a
though? Was he
vegetarian?
a vegetarian?
No,
I don't know.
no.
Was he?
I'm pretty sure he had meat on.
Did well, Peter says this later on in a dream that he says
He
from
had
Jesus
fish
later on
though.
in yeah, he had fish.
Did he ever eat the fish? So I mean, that's still
Uh
qualifies as a vegetarian, though. I think you can eat fish to be a vegetarian. You're just not a vegan.
well, yeah, yeah. Vegetarian, not vegan, I think. Well, what is the other word that starts with a P?
Yeah,
Palatian or something like
I
that. Can't remember
it's
the name.
true. There is another term, but I do not know the word, and nor am I going to guess and
Uh,
fail.
Carpenter made it. Was Jesus a carpenter though? Just because his dad was, does that mean he was? I want to say he would have been a master carpenter. But then again, walking around with everybody doing all the things he did he also work on building things or was he just kind of a spokesperson, kind of like a priest walking around saying what he had to say? That's a good question. Because what did he do within those 30 years where he was gone? Did he go to India? Did he learn stuff in India, which other people say too? I don't know. It does
It's
sound like
interesting.
some of the things he talks about do kind of align with, balancing your life and all that. I would have to go with that. You know, humans are better. Well, you know what they say. You got to fight for your right
Wish
party.
I could read the chat.
Well, you should have tuned into the to the Twitch chat and you could read it.
Did I do that? I guess I could. It always pops up
You
on my
could have
phone.
done that the whole time. But yeah, we were talking about capitalistic stuff and would Jesus be a capitalist? I think
I got
potentially
turned.
there, very, very potential to it. Because
Yeah, my
Jesus did
final
talk
answer.
about like we already said this before,
I think he would be a moral capitalist. If there was a simple term, that would probably
because
be it. It's like,
he got rid of the Jews selling the livestock in the temple, but it wasn't to get rid of Jews, it was to get rid of them selling salvation in the temple. The salvation was the livestock that they would
we also, I
send to
say, he
slaughter
also
and
had a
stuff.
problem. He also had a problem with taxes, even that they, the tax collectors and all that. That he was upset with. What is it? What was it exactly that
Well, they said he hung out with the tax collectors.
Jesus?
Yeah, he hung
Maybe I'm
out with
getting
the
it all wrong.
sinners and the tax collectors and all that.
I thought he got upset with them at one point in time.
Mm, I'm trying to think about that part, but they kind of the Jews at the time would say, "Oh, he's one of the other sinners. He's hanging out with the tax collectors and all the other sinners that are out there." But Jesus said, he wasn't here for the righteous people or the people that consider themselves righteous. He was here for the people that needed him. So very much the same with us.
Says the tax
The
collector asked for God's mercy as he was a sin. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. A tax collector
hmm,
asking for God's mercy. Does a tax collector only work for a government?
yeah.
The government, who's the
Well,
government at
Rome,
that point? I
whatever
mean,
whatever Roman officiate is there at the time.
but that's
If
still, it's not Caesar at that time, right?
Yeah, it was Rome. Rome had control of that whole thing. It
It
goes
would be Caesar at that time period too.
any Caesar. And Caesar was either emperor or king at the time. Funny enough, almost all of them were murdered.
But not Julius Caesar. I'm saying it's
No, I don't think it was Julius.
who's the who's the king? Should I look at that? Who's the king during Jesus' time? Look, I don't know anything.
Well, the point is, I would think the Romans had a free market. I think they did what they did. They still had a feudalistic.
To
Well, I
say
don't think it
Herod,
would be a
because of
complete free.
Judea.
Would it be a complete free market with a kingship? I don't think it could be. Um, I'll have to look into that, but I think it had to do something with that because the whole point is like we already talked about this. The whole talent system.
Caesar Augustus
The whole talent
is
system.
like right after.
He talked about the talent system. We just talked about this. You have more talents, you go out and make more talent. So you do the thing that you can do
Well, that's what
to
I was.
produce more fruits.
I was even saying that as a parent, that's like your overall
Mm-hmm.
objective is to find your child's talent. It's not so much to make your child
Yeah,
happy,
this is a great way we can
it's to find your
get
child's talent.
you know
And I've been trying to look at life like that. Like you don't it's not necessarily about like, oh, I want to make sure my kid grows up happy and knows they have a good childhood. And I think a lot of that is because like we all grew up from like a childhood where we're like, I wasn't that happy. And it's like I want to make my kid happy. And it's like maybe you weren't happy because being a child is not it's not all about being like all the time happy. It's about, learning things, finding those times of happiness. But the thing is, you have to also remember as a child, time moves a little differently. You haven't been alive as long. So the days are much longer to you, and happiness comes for
hmm
5 minutes and it lasts for the whole day. I see things now that people will type in as abusive. Then I'm thinking, like, that was like a normal punishment back in the day. Stuff like that. Now, I agree, you can't use soap anymore. The soap back in the day might have been like simple lye and stuff like that would
oh
foam in your
man,
mouth. But nowadays it's with like, chemicals and stuff like that. So you probably shouldn't use soap if somebody's
yeah,
swearing.
yeah, but
But
just
I
just
but
basic soap
but
with that was animal fat at one point is now all kind
I
of
don't I don't necessarily do it because my dog my
uh
well my
could
son
have
doesn't talk yet.
aluminum in it and other kinds of things in it. You don't even know.
But how do you feel about hot sauce punishment?
Okay, if you already eat it and it's edible, okay.
Because now I'm digging into like
Maybe,
deep
maybe, but then again, if your kid already has reactions to that kind of stuff, no, 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 no. If your kid,
yeah
well, but then again, if your kid likes it, then you're just giving them a treat. So I don't know if really you should go with that part because it could have like good and some serious side effects.
I don't think there's any
One or the
serious
other.
side effects.
Well,
I
I
don't think
mean,
there's
if
any
if the kid's never had it before and you give him ghost pepper,
indigestion.
and he's
And
just
yeah,
like,
well, all right.
and it just,
Obviously, ghost
I
peppers
mean, you'd
would be. I
be,
think ghost pepper would be abuse. You'd have
yeah,
to.
you'd be,
You'd have to. Just
this
like
is
you have
what you get for
you have an
saying my
abuse
name
level.
wrong.
Imagine that if you have an abuse level for
Kid just spazzes
you have
out.
an
Oh
you have an
man, that
abuse
would
level
be,
for like
oh,
marks
that,
on a kid. Imagine if they
yeah.
had an abuse level for like was like jovials or whatever they're called.
hmm
The limit for peppers is like it's like okay, you can't really give it. You can do a jalapeno. Even a kid, it's not abusive to tongue a kid with jalapeno, but a habanero, out of the question. No, no, that's way too spicy for a child at that age. It's like
I
you
don't know.
actually
We're
have
we're we're
specifics.
I don't know where we're going with this one, but uh,
Well, they want to make laws for everything in life.
well, yeah, we kind of have to have some laws
Is
for
that
stuff. I mean,
is
honestly,
that
the
do
whole,
we? What
like
about
what?
personal judgment? It's not like that's your kid. I mean, they'll let a person abort a kid. It's not like that's your kid. Should you even get involved? That's a policy. How much should you get involved? What's considered abusive and what's not considered abusive? Perhaps in society we're all being abused. In God's eyes, maybe we're all being
You
abused.
know what's gonna happen in the future where they said like because I grew up where if you did
We all
something
grew
bad,
up in an
it was
ignorant
either
society.
paddling or the belt or something like that if it was really bad. Luckily, I didn't really get to go through that because
You have to watch
I
Full House
I
reruns.
eh, yeah.
Dan, just skip right to the
Any
Danny Tanner part.
anyways, like
You need to see the.
that's not good. But what about timeouts now? We're instead of that, we give our kids timeouts. In the future, are they going to say
Ah, but
timeout's abusive because you're neglecting your child?
you're
You're
neglecting your
not even
child's time.
watching them
Child only has
anymore.
so much
You're
time.
not
You
even,
want to put him in
yeah,
a
and then
corner?
he's scared
Oh,
for
that's
like
enough.
5 seconds. Like,
You
oh
need a child
no.
to read a book
Yeah, what if you did something like that? You like
right
actually give
now.
them an option to do something
You
productive
have the
and be
right to
like,
take away your child's time.
you read 20 pages of the dictionary here and you tell me at least 10 things you memorized. Otherwise, you're not coming out of that corner. I'm sorry. What if it was something like that where you actually did something to actually better them instead of something that's just like mind numbing or, well, I understand the whole time I was like, oh, I don't get to have attention from
Well,
daddy anymore.
I agree with
Oh
you.
no, oh, that hurts. I understand it
Punishment
does hurt,
specific
but
time.
what if you did something that was educational? Kind of, but then again, it might make them not want to have
Got off
education in the
topic
future because you're like, well, every time I did
completely.
anything wrong, I had to fucking learn something. So I am never doing that again. When you get older, you're like, okay, yeah, we did get off topic a little bit, but
Should governments be involved in schools at all?
I think the fact is what we had with our government is just so much corporate
I mean,
corruption that we need to just kind of like find a way
everything
to
would be
dismantle
solved.
that from
Everything would
top
be
down.
solved if we just made small local government tax only, and
But
they
the thing
can
is
pay the
like,
federal.
but the
There's no
thing is,
federal tax for people.
what did Jesus? Okay, I'll try to cover the topic and we can talk about some other random stuff. But I think I
I'm getting
figured this out.
tired, though, to be honest.
Okay, well maybe we'll end it after that. But I think I figured this out. What did Jesus promote? Did he promote the Roman army, or did he promote the individual?
Promoted the individual.
Capitalism, right there. Promote the individual. What did he do when everybody came to try to like follow him around everywhere because he was given free food? He disappeared. He wasn't about that life. He wanted to enrich your life to help you become a better person so that you could be the better fruit and grow yourself. He wasn't there to be like
Plant the seed. That's all he did
just
was just plant the seed.
just plant the
Just like
seed.
the Bible says, just plant the
and
seed.
and he wasn't there to be like just do everything Rome has to tell you and shut the f up. He didn't do that. He didn't say just do everything the Jewish temple has to tell you and shut the f up. He told you and you and you and you individually how to be a better person. He wasn't promoting a corporate kingship.
The government.
He wasn't
Rise
promoting
up.
that. He was promoting you as a single individual person, how to better your life. And how we could better our lives by bettering other people's lives. And just to keep that thing going on there.
I'm actually all for the government, by the way. The Constitution. I love the Constitution. I just hate a lot of people in office.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm just saying,
I
like
think
he was literally the biggest definition of a self-help book you could ever get. That I
yeah.
think people
Yeah.
don't really realize, but it's
Which is
it's all kind of
capitalism.
there.
Capitalism is, the family or the individual.
Making yourself
You,
better so you can help other people and all
it's the
that.
method of the
But
samurai.
you see how the corporations have literally just turned everybody into this giant amoeba
Well, that's because they need
conglomerate gel
workers to
of
make their stuff. They need people to do their stuff, to do their work.
kind of like slaves, right?
Yeah, you have to pay them enough to be able to pay their bills, enough to have their fun, but not enough to start their own projects.
Hmm.
If they can start their own projects, well, I mean, and that's the thing, that's the truth of it. You start seeing that, oh my gosh, more people are starting their own business, messing up our chains. Amazon has to buy all these random things from so many, it's getting a mess anymore. We got to change the money. And the more and more we give people control,
Hmm.
more and more the more we keep feeding these apps to give the data so they can just know everything about exactly how people like think and live.
Yeah, so they can have the control. That's what it's all about. Tell me what
I mean,
your deeper
people collect the
secret
data
is.
for money.
Tell me everything about your life. I want to know it all. It's not because they like you. It's because they like
They like to
all of you.
understand you so they can figure out how to get every single last penny from you.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to want anything. Why? Just make him homeless, move him to California, and give him like $600 a week or a month, whatever. He'll be fine.
I don't know.
That's what they're gonna do, you know? That's what they're gonna do, the homeless
Yeah.
population of the world.
That's why that one Anal Schwab guy said you know, we're gonna you're gonna have nothing and you're gonna like it. You know, you won't own anything, but you'll like it because they'll have it, and then you'll just be the serf, the slave under them, and you'll like it because you'll be forced to like it. You'll like it, or you know, insert whatever enforcement I want to do upon you at this point. It's
Well,
it's
that's what I mean. It's like,
it's
I mean, what
never
are you supposed to do
it's never
when people?
somebody coming out of the blue and going, you know what, I'm just gonna give everybody this stuff, and you can take it or leave it. I'm out. It's nothing like that. It's never anything like that. Now that would be pure uh, philanthropy, but that's not what you see. It's I'm gonna give you all this stuff, but you have to sign up for this thing and then do this little dance and then pay this little fee and then da 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 da. And that's always the runaround that most people get because that's the bullshit that we
Well,
get.
the thing is, people don't seem to have morals too. They can know they'll you can pay someone to back you for protection while you go and rob somebody, and people are like, okay, yep, I got your back, bro. You paying me how much a year? Sure, yeah, I'll get you. While
Mm-hmm.
you hey, you don't touch him.
Yeah,
You know, you
you
know what you're
just
doing is wrong, but yet that's your job. But oh, you're doing it for the greater good. You know.
greater good tells me so, right? You know, that's what we think we're going even in the military when we go to these other places and we're over there, we're to protect our assets or we're to protect our allies. No, we're just there for
Well, that's the whole
resources for the
thing.
most part.
That's the whole reason why
It's just
America's even
resources
crumbling
at the
so
end of
much.
the day.
Because a lot of this like PTSD isn't even so much of PTSD as it's like guilt. Like people are like, like I'm not even sure why I was there. Like
That's
all we did was
exactly,
just kind of like put ourselves over.
dude.
There's a difference between
Dude,
PTSD.
I was
You
trying to
know, I,
figure that out, but you figured it out for me right now. That makes the most sense. It's just guilt. It's guilt from thinking I thought I was doing the right thing to fuck.
yeah,
That was not
especially the people. Why do you think that it's so much worse than people in Vietnam? Because they actually had to like go in like viciously hand to hand like kill people and stuff like that. And it's like you're not like they're shooting you only because it's like their country and like you're like in there. And as far as
plus
they
they
know, like you
saw
want to take
things
their
that
country.
I got a stepdad that saw things that were just I can't even say it on Twitch what happened with some of the kids and families in some villages. Some of the fighting from one, Vietnam side to the other.
I'll tell you, people like Tim Pool can promote. He does. All right, I'm wrong. I don't want to say he's promoting, but he can keep mentioning Civil War and Civil War. But for me, it's the last thing you want because you know what happens in Civil War or war in general? You or someone close to you dies, and you realize that you have children, and maybe they're not even your children, but you realize that they're all your children because these people are all looking at you suddenly, and you might be looking at them the same way, but there is no assurance of anything, and suddenly you say, "Who's my enemy?" Your enemy is whoever seems to be wanting to kill you.
That's
Because
the
you never
problem.
had an
This
enemy.
is the
You didn't have
cycle
an
we
enemy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. This is the cycle we've been in every so many amount of years. We don't seem to learn from our mistakes with that. War is never going to bring you any kind of comfort. Even
It'll
if you
bring
could
somebody a big profit, though. Oh, we can now. Let's
yeah,
get back into
it's
the gun industry.
if it was the guys in the charge that were leading the charge with the cavalry like long ago, we got to do this for this, and then you follow that guy, whether he died or whatever. I mean, then you'd be following somebody, but now it's everybody sitting back going like, well, we're going to write this thing. We're going to war with them. And what do? They sit on their fucking duff and then
Like I said,
you're the one that goes out and
a
dies for them.
constitution's only a piece of paper. Law is only a piece of paper. It's only a piece of paper. It's a written down statement that unless people choose to abide by it or choose to enforce it, is literally meaningless. I can go write down you shouldn't murder people. That's not going to stop anybody from. It's not. I don't live in the note. What is the
Yeah, people
notebook or
think we're
what's
going to
the
abolish all the guns. It's
death
going to
note?
stop murder. Unless we
Like,
change as a whole community,
yeah.
it's not going to stop murder. Look at
How about
Brazil.
we stop
Look
abolishing
at
the
other
idea of
countries that
people's
don't have
minds should
guns
be
and how
psychotic?
many people get murdered all the time.
The truth is, indoctrination is the right answer. I don't mean to be psycho sounding, but you need to teach people like, hey, this is wrong. It's gonna lead to bad things. Hey,
Is that really
this is
the real term for an indoctrination, or is that just a good moral
moral
compass?
ethics. Yeah, moral
Moral
compass.
compass. I,
It's
I,
all
I think
indoctrination to
indoctrination
me
is basically
because
like kind of
we don't know what the
force.
real truth is.
No, I think the fact is that no, I kind of disagree with that. I think indoctrination is not what we want. I'll have to disagree with you on it. I think what we want is we want to
But
help
don't you think
people
the
learn a
Christian religion is
real.
indoctrinating then? If we were to put Christianity in
Well,
schools again, is that
I'd have to say,
indoctrination?
well, I'd have to say some of the religious pushings of that, but the Christian, what Jesus
So
had to say,
biased.
the Christian idea, what Jesus had to say, would be not really indoctrination. It would be kind of like awakening process. It would be
I think it would help
opening up
people.
your
I
idea. I
agree.
think the fact is
I'm
like
not. I
what we need to do is expose people to the truth of things, or let people see all of everything without being pushed down and thrown away. What we have today is just complete censorship of any side you don't agree with. If you can't see all the information, you only have half
we
the
have such a
information.
large
And there's people that are so tribalistic on one side
such
of
a
the
large
information, they have
population
no
of like
idea of what's
fuck you, I
going on
don't
the other
agree
side.
people. They
They're
seem to really care
so
about other
they,
people having their own personal space.
and I'm not saying that everybody on both sides is always correct. Some sides might be more right than the other more of the time. But if you don't have
None
all
of
the
it really even
information,
matters.
you don't have all the information. And that's what we have today. We have such tribalistic instincts that we don't want
Yeah,
to
we never. If it's something that happened
pool it
more
all
than
together
like
and be like,
yesterday, we never have any
we could
information about it. We
we
should
could
just
put
give
a,
up.
what we have today politically wise is if you're on the right, you have the right side of the pieces of the puzzle. If you're on the left, you have the left side of the piece of the puzzle. Unless you are able to sort through all the information to find out all the facts and all the information, you only have half the puzzle.
The left are stupid.
And
Have all the puzzle. The left are wrong.
I'm just
But like I
saying.
said,
I'm just saying.
the,
It's just, and I'm not gonna.
look,
What I'm gonna say is, one side might be more
you
corrupt
know,
than the
you know
other.
what's even a more of
But
a spectrum than the LGBT is the whole political party. There is no right and left. The right cannot agree. There's pro-choice right, pro-life right. There's so many people that are just thinking like we need to. There's like the right is half of them are like libertarian. They don't even really want anything right policy. They just want to be left alone. They just also don't like the fact that the Democrats are like, let me get in your business. Like, let's start like civil rights movement number 2.0 and like, enhance it to
why
like
did we go through such
why the Romans fell. Like,
why,
just get all perverse and who
why
cares?
did we go through such a celebrated area where we're thinking we've gotten rid of, all this racial bias and all that, and now suddenly within the past 5 years we're all extremely racist? How did that happen? It's
Because
like,
they found a
is
way
that
to
just
profit
media
on it.
propaganda there? I mean, it kind of sounds like maybe that's what it is, because
Brian Stelter
I thought
got
we
fired, though.
solved all this stuff. I thought we had a black president for two
Do you think?
terms.
Do you think Brian
I thought
Stelter would do like his
I thought
own
we had
like
I
his
thought we
own
had
show?
racial change with things. Like,
I would watch it.
apparently that doesn't mean shit. So apparently we're gonna have to live through 10,000 years before everybody's like, okay,
I know.
now it's
Everybody thinks like it's my
It's like,
generation. Time for everything to happen that was supposed to happen.
yeah. The high class wants to remove the lower class power under the guise of doing something virtuoso. They remove a problem, but not the root
I don't want to
cause. So
remove
guns
it. They want
gone,
to
but
they
root
want to
cause
turn us
class
into
disparity.
like controlling sheep. They realize that you could it only takes 2 generations to make somebody literally be like, "Yes, I'm supposed to do this. Whatever you say."
I think
That's
that's
why
our
I
I think
exist.
that's our generation, Brad. I think we were led to believe that everything that was cool and new was like extreme in any kind of sense, and we just had to just go along with it.
Supreme.
And here's another thing we grew up with too: trolls. Oh, don't confront the troll because you're just feeding into them. And guess what?
Beating
You
them.
made them more powerful by letting them believe they were right.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So by letting
Wish they did a Liz
letting the
Cheney
cancer grow
reference.
lets the cancer grow. It doesn't stop the cancer from growing. So when you let the bad people do the bad things, you only give them more power because they're like,
Are you saying we
no one
should
will contend
microwave the
me.
trolls?
Maybe. I don't know.
I can't even tell what's a troll anymore. I know I'm a troll. Like
Well, when I played a lot of games, I
I
was
think
kind of a
I think
troll
everybody's a
eater.
troll
I,
though.
I'd
I
go
think
after
trolling is,
I'd go after the trolls, and I would mess with them just the same way. And
but
then
that's what I
some
mean. Because
people
you're a
would tell me
troll.
like,
Because
they don't
trolling
like you for doing that. I'm like, well, fuck them. I'm glad they don't like me for doing it because now they
is the
understand
popularity
what.
contest.
Well, I was giving them what for. They were getting exactly what they gave.
I know.
I was
You think
balancing the
you
system.
think you think trolling the trolls will put you in the group, but apparently it just
No,
makes you the enemy.
no, I was the Black Knight. Everybody wanted, some people want to be the White. I was the Black Knight. I would go full tilt
To them, you were
against
the
that.
Joker, and they were all the Black
Yeah.
Knights.
Well, maybe I was the Joker. I don't know, but as long as there's written language, yeah, people would, make, yeah. But
Oh,
when people are
percep-
trying to like,
perception.
but the trolls, like in some fantasy games, would try to take everything from the people
Listen,
that had none
listen,
and just give it to their own little band of people. So
a
what I
good
would do is go fuck with
salesperson.
all of them and still do the things I had to do. And then
Listen, a
they
good.
couldn't do things efficiently anymore. And so then they
Here's my
would
words
just
of
be like,
wisdom.
screw it. I'm out of here. I'm not playing this game again. So I would mess with them
A good
because they were
salesperson will
bad people.
understand a person's day prior. You have to know the person's day prior to them even coming into the sales pitch because it's all about perception.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a bad day prior, you need to figure out a way
But
to
here's
say like, okay,
what I want to say. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. I didn't.
I'm tired
I
of
feel
you,
like I
man. I'm not
totally
even
just cut
making
you
a
off.
point.
Okay. What I wanted to say is if other people are joining some kind of criminal organization and are coming after all the little people and laughing at it because nobody else can stand up against them, but you stand up against them. You're standing up against crime and corruption. You're standing up against that because they're doing something that nobody else can do anything about. They have all the inside information. They have the awareness, the wherewithal to get where they need to go, to stop people from growing, stop people from rising up out of this poverty level, to move into something greater. And then you go and say, fuck you, and you stop them from doing what they're doing in a consistent way. You get within their
What
logistics and
what's
stop them
greater?
from doing all the
All
corrupt
right,
things they're being able to do. You make the wave in the system for
let me
everybody
let
else
me
to
let me
surge
ask
up
you
with you
this.
and be like, hey, this guy's doing it. I'm
Let me ask you
emboldened. I'm
this.
powerful. I can do that too. I'm going to move with him. And then you
What's
make this wave to
what's
clean
greater?
away all this corruption. But you
Listen,
have to make the stand. Somebody has to make the
I'm
stand.
I'm making this point though. What's greater that you're referring to? Owning more items of nonsensical things does not make yourself greater. The only thing that's really greater is being able to work less so you have more time to take your senses of sight and hearing and hear pleasant sounds of waves and see pleasant visions of sunsets. Like what is the meaning of life in anything? You can get whipped all day long, but eventually after a year of getting whipped all day long, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. That's just your daily day. you don't really think about it anymore. It doesn't really matter. You take abuse like it's just nothing after it becomes the regular.
I guess the fact is, like, I've always been
So so
against
what
that
I'm
certain
what I'm saying is like
type of organized corruption, which I think ends up being corporations anyways, because they take no
what is
hit.
it that you want? Do you want a faster internet? Do you want more time to be able to play video games? Do you want to own tons more nice, expensive things? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just saying like to me, yeah, I agree that like you should be able to have enough money where you can find a way to explore the earth. But hey, they didn't have RVs like 1500 years ago. You basically walked a horse or walked. If you wanted to explore the earth, you probably spent like half your life just walking until
Yeah.
you eventually found something else that seemed like another
Well,
civilization.
territory for the most part for us as human beings has been a visual, as far as we can see. That's what we own from the
I
beginning.
mean,
Now, when we share communities, then we make the walls, and we're like, well, as far as the wall is I can see, that's as far as I own. But
it
then,
became no different than like wolves and stuff until it's like, hey, you in this territory too? Looks like we're gonna have to either pack up or kill each other.
yeah, yeah, like
Let's just
that's
pack
what
up.
like wolves and stuff, and animals outside to be like they see you.
Put on the alpha.
This is where I'm at right now. This is my territory. This is just a instinctive
We'll
thing.
control this 3 mile radius.
Is trolling generally making the other parties realize their own faults? Or was it initially a band of bad people that were doing bad things?
Trolling can
Maybe the definition's changed because the definition for Karen has changed, which I've seen. Other people
well,
use the word Karen like people
troll
clutching their pearls, but
not to all right,
was
not to sound like
initially
a
Karen was initially
yes, Karen.
determined to be a person that
Okay,
would
okay,
be like
trolling.
feel
Not to
justified no
sound like one
matter
of
what they did.
those gender people, but trolling
That's
is an
what Karen
umbrella
initially
term,
was, and then Karen was changed to be
a
a person
a
clutching their pearls.
subcategory of the umbrella term of trolling
Hmm.
would be, yeah, like the people who, just try to like help people understand a little bit better by being sarcastically.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'll just say sarcastic.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know the noun. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's a sense of like Karen, you can be completely ignorant trolling where you like, I never understand what you're saying. I think trolling's a very generalized term at this point. But
yeah. Because Karen was initially meant to be someone that was high privileged, demanding everybody treat them like a princess or a queen or whatever
does she
all the
have to be
time.
white?
When, well, that's kind of the stigma that it was put onto, but it could be anything really. But someone demanding you must serve me and
I
do
watched the
everything I
movie
say,
Karen
lick my
with
boot, you
Pennsatucky.
know. And that was initially what it was. Now it's
It
just
was great.
anybody clutching their
I don't know how
pearls, like,
Pennsatucky didn't
oh,
win
don't come
awards.
after my wealth or whatever I've done now, which is not what it was intended to be.
Come on.
And the
The thing
problem
is, either
is,
you have a
if you have
staged
a
Karen,
significant other named Karen, unfortunately, I'm sorry, that's kind of made the word Karen
you can
not
have a
that
staged
great.
Karen, or like if there's a
An
real
elitist,
Karen left,
yeah.
they're usually like 70 plus years old and they don't even know any better. I mean, honestly, if you're getting mad at somebody 70 plus years old, you should just take a long look in the mirror and realize like you're the ignorant one. Like they don't they were never gonna know any better. You should just move on. You don't have
They know what they
look,
know for their generational
but here's what I'm saying.
language speak or language um their the way that
All right,
their
all right.
generation lived. They know what they know for how their generation lived.
All
And
right,
now
let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. Let's say you're on a train, right? You're on a train and a guy you're trying to sit down and the guy
on a
just comes and sits
train.
down in front of you, right? He comes and sits down in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, "What the hell, man? Like I thought I thought I was going to take my seat and this guy just butts in front of me." And he's like you're like he just keeps looking, he's just a jerk. You can just tell he's a jerk. And all of a sudden he's like trying to do a math thing or notice something and it's like 2 plus 2 equals 5. Are you gonna help him by saying no, 2 + 2 = 4? Or are you gonna just be like, yeah, it's stupid. I don't care. Guy thinks 2 + 2 = 5. He doesn't even know. You don't want to help him because he's an asshole. But
You would say to him, "What seat are you sitting in?" My seat, he would say. And he would say, "What seat am I sitting in?" Your seat. So your seat and my seat equal how many seats? 2 seats. Is a seat next to me another seat? Yes. How much would that equal? 3. So on and so forth. You go along with that idea until he realizes what it should equal. And then he's like, "Wow, thank you so much for explaining that to me because I was so dumbfounded and I didn't understand." And you're like, "Yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it." And then you move on with your day. It doesn't have to be some crazy thing you have to do. You could just literally just play a game with them right now. Okay, how many objects do we have of this thing? And
do
and
you
add them
why
up.
do you want to help some people and not
You
others?
can help them without being an asshole for
But
it.
I'm saying,
You
why do
can
you like
be
to
you
help?
can have fun being an asshole, but you don't have to do that, and you could just help them out. And then, let's say they're just not very good with math. They might just be not good with math. Maybe what you're saying is right. Maybe they're trying to be an asshole subversively, but then you help them out in a nice way, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't. They just won't argue you on that. They'll know that they're wrong,
But
and
you want to help
you'll
them
know
out
that they're
either
right.
way. See, look at you, you're such a humanitarian. You want to always help them out.
So you just go and you do what you need to do, and you're done with it, and they go on with their day. They don't look at you any worse than they thought that you were beforehand, and you're just like, problem
I don't
solved,
know. I'm rambling.
solving a
I'm
problem.
rambling at this point. I would say, do you have any closing things to say? Because it's 3:30 for me.
I know we went on
Uh,
quite a long time. I think we did. At least I said what I thought was the truth, and the fact that I think he was. I think some people do believe that. Was he a
like
libertarian? Was he a capitalist? Was he a this? I've had even a cousin think that
w-
he was a
again,
socialist.
libertarian is a form of
It's like
government. Capitalist is a form of
like
economy. You
like
can't really like,
the
was he
fact
this or
is
he could be
the
a
fact is he talked
libertarian and a
about
capitalist,
the fact is he talked about the talents
which
and
is a great thing to be.
everybody having a talent and going out and proving your talent and making something of yourself. To make something of yourself was more beneficial than just keeping it to yourself and not doing anything with it, because the one person had the one talent and buried it was cast away.
Look, I'm not saying
So
throw yourself into a danger zone, but you shouldn't sell yourself short as a person. You should
mhm.
go outside and,
But that's the whole point, man. That's what we're all here for. We all have different talents. We have different things. Some of us are really good cooks. Some of us are really good at interpersonal relationships. Some of us are good at, let's say podcasting or making different things. Some of us
I wish I
some
was
of us
good
are
at
great.
podcasting,
Some of us are terrible at podcasting. We love to do it anyways.
but we just
Some of us like to plan things. Some of us like to do things. We all have different talents. Not everybody's going to have the same good talent. Not everybody's going to be as talented as the next person. But it doesn't mean we baskets. Don't put your light in a basket. Don't let what you have to expand out into the world be hidden. What did that mean? Do what you can do, the best that you can do it. And I
yeah.
think that comes back to that. What we have now is crony, you know, corporatism and all that kind of stuff. I think that
You don't even
it
if you
just
don't
it
have
steps
kids,
on us in that sense. It
you
steps
don't
us
want
up
the
from
youth
being
to
able
see the
to
adult as like
shine our light into the world. And
something to be an excuse of. I mean, the kids are gonna look at the adults and be like, they did this, just like we're doing. We have a reason to blame our adults. I want to be able to have it where when the kids try to blame us, they'll be like, and we can just be like, nah, nah, we didn't.
you did. Ah, crap! I can't think of something.
Nah, nah. Like
You
I
didn't.
want to
You
work
didn't make
harder.
your bed. I got you. You didn't make your bed.
I want to
You.
work harder.
Okay.
I want to solve
Okay.
the corruption problems. I want our generation to
Isn't
be
that
the
what
one that
everybody
where they
wants? Is like to be blamed as a parent for something just as small as that. You're like, Oh, good. At
Yeah,
least it's
but think
just,
about it. Think about it. No, but I'm saying
at
our
least I did
generation can
everything
be
I
the
could,
one,
you know.
to be like we're remembered as the one that fixed America. Our generation, you know, saw these problems, and I mean, you can say it expands all the way up to like Trump and all that, an older generation, but it's going to be recorded in history as the time period when people realized like corruption is stronger than America, like, or like America's stronger than corruption. Corruption tried to get itself in, and the rule of law showed that they couldn't get away with it even after they had already started. Like, they're not. They're getting these people are getting subpoenaed. The FBI is under investigation. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing is it's it's not good. You know what I mean? It's not good.
Hmm.
And it's good that it's
I think one
kind of
way
come to light.
we can get rid of the corruption is by, and I hate to say it to some people that really like the stocks, get out of the stocks. Get your money back. Invest it in yourself. Make your own business. Grow it yourself. The stocks are just a way for them to take the money from you because the tickers are on every single major media outlet, and there's a reason for that. It's a strategic thing. Everything in the world, when it comes down to making money from the higher ends, they know how to make the money, and they're telling you what they want you to do so they can keep making that money. To take the ability away from them to make that money.
Invest it all in crypto
Invest
and
it in your
NFTs.
no, not invest it in yourself. If you're going to make your own business, invest in your own business. Invest it in yourself.
I
Build
know a
yourself
guy who
up.
knows a
Grow
guy who got rich
yourself
off of
in,
NFTs.
into something that
NFTs are only good if you actually have like one of those really, really cool drawings that you keep zooming
I
in.
don't know enough about
Which
NFTs to really
remember when I
say
was
anything
saying
about it,
that
but
too with video games? I said video games would only be cool if every time you kept zooming into an object, it got like more and more detailed. Like, it was actually, I said this probably in like over 10 years ago.
I don't remember this conversation.
I said I always wanted to see video games where it's like like the thing is, as you get closer to an object, they never change. The object is always just inputted into the program. So it'd be much cooler if, like, as you get closer to an object, you actually see that object rendered better and better and clearer and clearer. And as you get closer, you might even see details of like a small insect that you wouldn't see from far away.
Man, now I got to increase my GPU and my graphics
Yeah, I know.
card, and
I know.
I gotta get
I
62-bit
I
RAM just to
I
play
agree
this
with you.
game.
I agree with you.
How
For like
dare you make me
one
pay more
one
money for a
chunk
computer?
one chunk of a Minecraft like level graphics
Yeah, and it's
of
funny too.
what I want would be like
It's, it's
burning the
funny too.
highest
Yeah, all
CPUs.
that kind of CPU for Minecraft. Yeah, that's gonna work, right? It's good. 1 pixel became 4 pixels. Like,
I know. You keep zooming in 4 pixels to become 8 pixels.
it's dude, it's eight
E-
pixels. Look at
Even
that. It's
even though the
amazing.
pixels are the same
Oh
color, it
my.
just keeps multiplying as you zoom in to the point that you like create like millions of pixels because you get so close that it just fries out the whole
But
computer.
what if that's what we're about, Altison, with today's things? We are Aquarius. Aquarius is about air. We're in an age of air. This whole internet is all imagination station. It's all nothingness. And we're selling each other all this stuff all the time. What did people do that get caught up? T. Martin got, I don't know if he got prison time, but he definitely got sued or fined for selling graphic skins for guns in Call of Duty in a gambling system. He tried to make some extra cash on the down low. But he got caught, right? So is that what we're coming to? Like, a lot of transactions are just imaginary. I mean, look at, like, you talked about money you sank into that game. I know I sank some money into Clash of Clans, and I feel bad about that. It wasn't too much, but it was still more than I will ever do again. You know, they were putting money into imaginary
Chump
sources now.
change.
You know, is that a part of capitalism? Are we starting to, like, is that a part of, like, making a website and
I know.
making sure that that
Buying
is
digital
buying
things
digital
is
things and
mind-boggling.
selling them with,
I understand how
is
people
that the
do it,
new
but it's
thing
just
we're gonna
weird to
do
think
now?
about.
You know,
We buy digital things. We buy things that could just be like doubled.
We buy art, pics, stuff
Control
like
C,
that.
Control V. I
That's why for
literally
the most
just
part, like
how
with
much you pay for that? Control C, Control V. I got it. I got it now.
like for the most part stuff I do on my channel, I just make my own art because I'm like,
Like, I
I
mean,
am not
imagine.
paying anybody.
I
I'm
imagine
not
it's like
paying
that's
anybody anything when I
like
can do it myself.
like
Now,
that's how
there
real
might be some
hackers.
things I might
You
want
don't
to
see
do,
like
but
a
you know,
copying all files like thing loading
but
ones.
it
They just
reminds me of like
literally
what
Control C, Control V.
yeah,
I
but
got it.
it
Let's
reminds me
go.
of that other saying. Eltis is saying, "Let me sell you something imaginary." Uh, you know, if you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. You know, do you remember that saying? If you believe
Hopefully we're
X, Y,
chasing
and Z, I have a
waterfalls.
bridge to sell you. A really famous person actually made money selling somebody a bridge that he never owned. I think that was the story.
You know who made the most money during the gold rush?
The Cold Rush?
The gold rush.
Oh, I thought you
Like,
said the Cold
what
Rush.
in
Well, I was going to
California, like the
say the
California
Cold
gold rush.
Rush is what just happened in 2021 with the COVID
Do you
thing.
know
Remember the
do you
Cold
know who made
Rush?
the most
Remember
money?
the Cold
Like where
Rush?
they, all the people who made money finding gold and all that. Do you know who made the most?
Who?
The person who sold the shovels.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying with the whole Pfizer thing. Who made all the money in stocks?
Yeah.
I
Well,
wonder whoever invested in the corporation,
Moderna
right?
just said that 30 million doses they couldn't find, they couldn't even like give them away pretty much. Feel like we don't want them. I heard
Mm.
that, but I saw another statistic. There's like 82 million doses overall are like expired and being thrown out at 19.50 a dose.
Wow.
It's like 1.6 billion dollars. It's just unbelievable. And who pays these bills?
I
Who
don't want
pay?
to.
I
I definitely
mean,
don't want to pay that.
here's the
That's
thing
way
though.
higher than my budget.
Who pays it? Whoever bought it, who's actually throwing it out? I feel like the US government is throwing a lot of these out because they were so eager to buy so many from these big pharma companies. They felt like we have to get the taxpayers' dollar
Hmm.
directly to them in the form of a vaccine. If they don't want the vaccine, well, they're just stupid.
You're just stupid
Despite
if you
not,
don't if you don't eat the government cheese. You're just stupid. Because government cheese is the best cheese ever, hands down. Because I say so.
yes, we use maggots to
I
make it, but the maggots are dead
hands
by the time you eat it.
maggots.
That is the actual way they make one kind of cheese. I don't remember what kind, but
Really?
they use maggots. Yeah, the maggots eat the cheese and then poop it out, and that's what you eat.
Is that string cheese?
I guess that's almost like just as bad as
Oh my gosh!
the
Wow.
cat coffee where they ferment the Kopi Luwak coffee where they it's not even a cat, it's a palm civet that they eat the beans, the coffee beans, and
Don't
they
tell me that Altison. He's saying blood is the most unvaccinated blood is the most valuable right now.
oh man,
So the people that got the vaccine got have bad blood.
imagine if they start
I
hunting
don't
you.
know. I don't know. I haven't heard that, but that's crazy, man.
Unvaccinated,
Is that true? Is there a I
may
got
contain
I got to
drugs.
look into that. But I mean that's
Interesting.
what a lot of people brag about even on Twitter. They're
Well,
like pure
I
blood, pure blood.
that
I didn't get
I seems like
vaccinated.
that.
And
It seems like, according to the Associated Press, that Icelandic
yeah.
study about non-vaccinated people seem to have a less likely chance now of. It seems like the whole thing's blown out of proportion. That's not necessarily the case, and the statistics didn't even really show
Well,
that.
with other people saying bad
I
effects from the vaccine and all
I
that,
do
maybe
think the
there's something
vaccine
holding that true.
did what it was supposed to do. Not very well, but it was
I think it has
better
a
than nothing.
I think what
But
it does, it
I
has
think
a
the amount of
hyper
side effects
focus on that, and then it'll leave you weak to
and
other
this
things,
this
which
whole
might be a bad idea. Yeah, because it's not even
mRNA,
the same thing. Everybody thinks, oh, all vaccines are the same. This was
yeah,
not the same. If you think it's the same, then you were being
it
lied to
it's
by mainstream
annoying. It's
media
annoying that
for a long time.
vaccine things all act like it's all the same kind of
Be-
vaccine, all that
because the
stupid.
mRNA vaccines before weren't even approved for general use
They were
at
studied,
all.
sure. I
They
agree.
were
It looked
studied,
like
but
they
they
were
were
studied
never
for 30
approved.
years or so,
None of them were ever
but
approved.
just
So how did this get approved?
to approve it on a massive scale like that seemed absolutely strange. And the fact that that was what was already so it's like, all right, so you went right.
Wow.
I don't, I'm not even sure how you could imply the idea of like, oh, let's try to make the vaccine as an mRNA vaccine prior to the initial methods, of give a little bit and, you know,
Yeah, that's how all the old
let
vaccines
them
were.
build their own
It was
immunity.
about a
Let
decade.
them build their own immunity.
It was about a decade of studies. This one was like within a year. Fuck it, go.
It just seems like
Leroy Jenkins.
it
That
must
was
have
where
already
it
been
went.
invented.
Just boom.
Which is, but that gets back into my original conspiracy theory of even Trump was in on it with Project Warp Speed. It was already invented. You had to make something called Warp Speed for us to feel like
I
it
don't
could have
know if
been invented so
I don't know if
fast.
Trump was in on it. I think Trump is just one of those guys that's not very smart
I,
in the.
I'm perfectly implied to people who want to believe that he's not, and he's a really good guy, and he's trying to
But
save.
maybe
But, but
I
that's what I'm
don't
saying.
know.
The term Project Warp Speed makes it sound like
I don't know
anything's
about any of
possible
that.
for a vaccine to be invented.
What?
The term Project Warp Speed would make it sound like anything's possible for a vaccine to be
It's like
invented. I'm so
why are you
stupid.
using Star
But
Trek reference
you
here?
used an
Warp
mRNA which has
speed?
never been tested out there as the main way to make a vaccine for
Prod
everybody to almost get mandated to
yeah,
take.
but essentially what they're saying
It
is
seems so
it's
strange.
Project Fuck It. We'll hit full bore and go with whatever comes out here. That's
It
essentially
seems
what
so
that
strange.
meant
And it
there.
seems like anybody who is willing to take it to me is just like,
It wasn't
okay,
even
if
FDA approved initially,
if
like for what
yeah,
about a
if
year until they finally got some funding for that, and we were
and
like,
then what? And then what? As soon as it
eh,
gets FDA approved, as soon
eh.
as it gets FDA approved, is when you start finding out results of myocarditis or whatever it's exactly called
Yeah,
appearing
one
in
in
teens
five
anyway.
hundred.
So it's like, so
So
you
is one in
approved it
500
and you have
people.
all these adverse reactions. Why'd
Yeah.
you approve it then?
So one in
All
five
these
hundred
adverse
teenagers
reactions
are going to
and
have heart attacks now. Oh, that's
the
fun. That's fun.
the
Having heart
VIRS,
attacks at a young age before you're even 40. Oh, that's fun. You know,
all the stuff in what is it, the
me
VIRS
saying
project or
sarcastically.
whatever it's exactly called. I don't know what anything's called. I'm too tired. It just shows like it's clown. I don't. It just seems to me like unless like your job obligated you to take it and you feel like you're backed up against the wall,
And then they would
you
fire
obviously
you if you
realize
didn't.
people
There was
weren't dying. Yeah,
plenty of
I
hospitals that
understand
fired all
why
these
some
people
people
that
had to
didn't.
take it. I understand why people, a lot of people had to take it. I'm not accusing anybody. I understand why even older people felt more of a concern, or people who lived near older people felt more of a concern that they didn't want to put somebody in jeopardy and they kind of took something based on like, well, they wouldn't guinea pig us. I get it. But like for me, I had no reason. My mom had already passed away. Everybody in our family was healthy. I had no contact with anyone old necessarily. And, I'm fairly intelligent that I tried to avoid
Hmm.
colds and I wore masks when I
Yeah,
was all about it. I was like, yeah, wow, sounds like a pandemic. Sure. Like, let's put
and
on a mask.
and the thing is, like
I didn't oppose the idea.
the thing is, Altison's saying is his sister is one of the 500 people, and I feel really bad about that because there's a lot of people that took it, and I've been shouting on the rooftops for a while, like, don't just believe everything you hear. Look into it, research it. What did CNN say? Don't research anything. Just believe everything we're saying. That's not somebody that wants to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's 100% not
The same
somebody who
group of
wants to tell
people
you.
where they have to
Don't believe
fire how many
everything.
different people yet.
Only
Don
believe
Lemon's
me.
next.
I mean,
Or maybe
that's
Rachel
some
Maddow.
high grade horseshit right there. That people
But
went out and
Don
just
Lemon's
devoured
next.
just completely. No, he's got to be. He's got. It looks so good. Like the little colors that come around in the CNN and the picture of the man and he's talking and everything looks cool. That's why they like
I
it.
haven't watched
It's
CNN
because
in so
sparkly
long. I don't even.
pictures are all around these people and moving objects. And it's like,
Blair.
whoa, whoa, shoo,
The
shoo.
Nazis made the Jews wear flair.
Whoa, whoa, that's cool. That's got to be the truth, man. because it looks good and they got money. So do drug dealers. You got to be kidding me. I can't believe what I was told when I
Human
was a kid is don't
traffickers.
believe everything you see on TV. What I'd have to say to my generation or people in this generation, don't believe everything you see on the internet. It's not always true. People are in it for money, you know, and
Believe
and
anything.
that's the whole. You got to look into everything. That's why you have to look at everything nowadays. And then
Think it
people,
through.
and it's funny too when people get these
Double,
side
double,
when
double
people are on
check,
the certain side of the
triple check
fence.
nowadays.
This is the political thing that I see happen. Certain people on a certain side of things will say, "Oh, the Trumpers don't want you to take the vaccine," but when they have a bad effect to it, they're like, "This was Trump's fault." It's like, no, it was Biden's fault for forcing everybody into doing it. He tried to push this through Congress, and other states are pushing it through with the medical
New
things
York,
that
New
you were
York
going to
sure
get
did.
fired if you didn't take the vaccine.
Yeah.
And so some people were forced to
Now
just
they have now they
quit,
have lawsuits. At least some lawsuits are going to get filed.
and they had no recompense to any of this. There was no recompense. You couldn't sue them for this because
Probably
it was
gonna
an
lose.
unsuable thing. And then later on, you see, that's what they do with pills now. All these pills that have all these side effects, and a lawyer comes out and saying, if you took this pill at some said time of year or day or whatever, we found out that they did malpractice, and you
I
can
saw.
sue them for
All
all
right.
the bad shit that's going on in your life because of it.
Let me tell you
Why?
this story.
It's
Let me
because
tell you
most of
this
these
story.
things aren't long-term studies. They're like half a year at least, and then they
Let me
just
tell you.
okay, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
What was that indigestion pill that
Yeah,
got
Biden mandated
banned?
the whole thing. So if anybody wants to blame everybody for getting it or forced to get it because they might lose their job, blame the current admin. They were all happy about that. They really, really
Okay, all
wanted
right.
to have that.
All right, so every once in a while I get indigestion, right? And it's my own accord. I'll eat late at night a lot.
Hmm.
And I one point in time heard about Zantac. So I was like, let me try a Zantac. And oh my gosh, wow. Zantac worked amazing. I mean, it just solved the problem like nothing. After like two times of taking Zantac, I was like, this solves this problem a little too well. I was like, it's almost creepy how well it seems to solve my indigestion. I don't seem to have any indigestion anymore. I was like, I don't seem to like this. I was like, I am not going to make this a habit. I don't want to take these pills anymore. In fact, I didn't even finish the bottle. I was like, I don't like it. I was like, it's just a little too miracle-y for me to think that this can be healthy on you
Hmm.
and still be a, and sure enough, within like the next couple months, Zantac gets lawsuits about, or they had to like they stopped production and all that because they're, not healthy. They're having problems and they're getting lawsuits and all this kind of stuff. And I realized it's like, it's exactly that because like,
You can.
I
You can.
just don't think that this, yeah, I can tell it's coating my body, but I feel like that's actually
Hmm.
something a little bit too much of a coating there. I feel like you're gonna grow something on that, and I don't like the feeling of that. And just, yeah, for sure, it's the same. I don't know. It's just you gotta trust yourself. Even with my daughter being born, my wife when she was pregnant, she is just completely off topic, but it's along the lines of trusting yourself. And they try to tell her, you're not dilated enough. You have to go home. And she just looked at them and she's like, I want to see the doctor. Like, I know I'm ready. And so the doctor's just like, all right, let's just make her a bed. It's going to be tonight anyway. And, make her a bed. And when they did the test, they realized the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck, my daughter's neck. And they immediately had to do a C-section. You know what I mean? It's like, had they listened to the triage nurse and gone home and been like, it's just hormones, baby. You'll be fine. Wait another day.
Your wife knew?
Baby be dead. My baby be dead. But my wife knew, and she's just like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going home. It's
Mhm.
time.
This is the
And
thing.
it's like
This
that's
is
what I
the
mean.
thing
Like,
that
you have to trust yourself as a
yes,
lot of things. Men and women. It's not just a women's story, but you have to trust yourself when you know things are right or wrong in life.
yes.
and kind of speak and act on it, and not just cowardly watch it and
Hmm.
choose to videotape it for views on your own clout. It's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
It's time to stand up to the
I
injustices.
think that's the thing. Like we're too in, and what you said before, I think it's kind of true. We're too indoctrinated into what society wants us to be. We're just so complacent. We're just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to argue with anybody. Like what were we told with the trolling? Don't feed the trolls, so don't argue with anybody. Don't say anything. Just put your head down and go forward with whatever is happening, because
Yeah.
that's what our reality was supposed to be. But guess what? That's not how it's going to be. That's not how it's going to be in the future. We're going to totally
Yeah, because people
flip the
like you and
script,
me and a
and
lot of other
and
people are just
and
saying enough is enough, and I'm not putting up
yeah,
with
there's
that. You know,
that's the whole
I'm
thing. Like
standing up to the crap.
yeah,
I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna put my head down to when you're blatantly wrong and it's affecting me. It's one
mm-hmm.
thing if you want to be wrong and go hide in a corner and do your own thing.
Maybe
It's
people in the
another
past.
when you start
That's the
affecting
thing.
me
Maybe
and my
there's a certain.
family.
Yeah, maybe there were people in the past that were a certain amount of ostriches. But we're not ostriches. We are not ostriches. We are not going to take that stuff, sitting down anymore. We're going to stand up, and we're all going to, push back against that. Um, and I think that's what we see now with a lot of people. We're all looking for that too. We're all looking for that. Who's going to
Yeah,
start leading the way? Well,
we're
we
all
all
the
have to.
leaders.
We all have to start leading the
Yeah,
way.
we're the lead.
We
You're the
we.
leader. You're the leader.
You're the leader. I'm the leader.
You're the
You're the
leader, and then
leader.
as soon as you see someone else choosing to lead, and you know that that person is a noble person, well, you can lead the other people into the leading that. I follow that. I support that person, and you start making real leaders, and you start seeing who falls behind real strong-minded people, and not just this idea of like, what do we have to pick from this every 4 years?
Yeah, we're not here to pick from the scraps of the
Who's
the
going to
cra-
do the
the
job?
the crap that's going to happen
Oh,
here.
who will run?
We're
You know what because I mean, even like Andrew Yang wants to run again. Andrew Yang is like the biggest corporate shill at this point, who's taken donations from so much corporations,
yeah,
and he's trying to act like he's like this. I'm gonna mediate it. Yeah, you want to great, give everybody who's poor a little bit of money while the rich keep so you can keep stimulating the economy right back to the rich. Basically, all you're doing is creating $1,000 tax. That is such a minimal tax in the long run
hmm
to from the rich, $1,000 per person
if somebody
back to
was
them.
running for the people, they'd give the money back to somebody that was a corporate uh, funded amount, or they'd give money back to the people that were for certain corporations and stuff to align
Like I
themselves
said,
with the higher ups
the
and all
only
that.
real way
Because the
is
fact is, like, if you're with he's a sellout,
yes,
right?
of course
He's a
so.
sellout. And this is what people have forgotten, that if you're more of a populist in a sense, you don't want to be a sellout,
I mean, even Andrew
to
Yang
these
even
higher
looks like a
corporations.
lobbyist. That's
You
what he
you want
looks
to
like.
be you don't want that. That's not the right way to go. You We don't
The
need that
thing,
anymore. We don't
yeah,
need that anymore.
the thing
And
is,
it's
I
all
don't need the
fucked up
ideals
because we
that
don't fucking need that
you
anymore.
think you can control me. That it's just like China. If all of a sudden you have a good idea, like you have all like tons of government people on you, like figuring out how they can control the company with you. Oh, it's a great idea you have. Now we need to get involved in how you actually choose to run the company anymore, because you have a fan base of like 2 million people, and
hmm
more will be following, and
You
we
know,
can't
you
be
know,
having these
you know. People might say good
no,
things
I'm
are,
not having that. I'm not having government think they can just run everything
yeah. Yeah, the
that
reason that
overpowers them or
every,
could overpower them.
everybody, there's people for Trump, people against Trump. The one thing I liked about Trump is he actually spoke his mind, whether you liked it or not. That's the one thing that's very different than most politicians nowadays. They're just like,
Simple-minded, but sure.
yeah, maybe simple-minded, but at least it's not just, hey man, support the change, you'll get change. I'm not that guy. Like mindless, stupid bullshit that doesn't mean anything, and then they don't do anything when they're in office. They're not for you or for me. They don't represent anybody. They represent themselves. And then, like Biden, unity, unity, unity. Fucking division the whole time. That's all he ever did. Divisive things the entire time.
Uh, Everything our leaders need to do, they always seem to
They don't
want to
even like
take
so
too long to do it.
such liars. We
But
need
either way, that's a whole other topic.
yeah, yeah, we could
I'm getting pretty exhausted.
yeah.
It's almost 4 for me, so
Yeah.
I got a big day tomorrow. Just have to skip sleep tonight.
Yeah. China's buying a
But
property, BlackRock's trying to buy a property here in America too.
yeah,
What other people saying? I'll have to say this too.
Chinese economy, that's a whole other topic. But that's all political. It's and I'm not intelligent enough. I only know bits and pieces to get involved as a political channel.
What I'm going to say, it would be helpful for you and other people too. Buy land. Buy
Yeah,
land, buy a house.
can't say what
Get
I've done,
get
but
out of
Bioland is a good option.
if you can get out of the apartment thing. I'm trying to do that too. Get your own piece of the pie, because if you let everybody else buy it up, we're all going to be living in condos. We're all going to be living in apartments, and
Yeah.
it's going to make it easier for them.
Zillow is the biggest con
It
artist of big organizations choosing to bring up the housing market.
buy
Zillow should be illegal.
what we should have is physical things. You know, you might think, oh, the digital is great and all that, but guess what's being overlooked? Physical things. That's why they're going out and
Yep.
trying to buy it all.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree with you. Physical things do not, and I mean they can deteriorate. I guess that's true, but
Land
you
doesn't.
know, but
Maybe
yeah.
it might go in water, maybe, but or go
But
above,
land
but
is again only as strong as the government
hmm
who honors the deed.
yeah. Don't sell your land, Altison's saying. I yeah. Get a piece of land. Build something on it. Own it for a camping area. Just get some land. You know, because it's just
Rent it out as a camping area,
you could rent it out.
as a place for
Yeah,
RVs.
yeah, you could rent that out.
I gotta go, man. It's 3:56. I don't have any closing things to say.
Okay. Um, I think we kind of, well, at least I put my argument to prove that he's a capitalist, but other people could tell
I
me
do think he's a
otherwise, you know.
capitalist.
Um, if you have a
He's a
differentiating,
moral capitalist.
yeah,
Moral
a moral
capitalist, that's the term.
capitalist, yeah, I'd have to say, because everything you had to talk about made a
A
whole lot of
cap,
sense.
because can the same person be a capitalist that kicks somebody? It's not just necessarily a corporatist, because
Hmm.
they don't own a corporate. Can they pry on the poor already? Oh, I'm already just taking the poor for a ride. You're
Jesus
still
wasn't,
capitalizing.
Jesus was not a pariah. And I'll end with that. Although maybe I have to look at the definition of that a little bit more.